Truth on your Google Play Store or Apple App Store so you don't miss out on any of the action.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the new 101.7 The Truth, founded in partnership with Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. 101.7 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee. A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat, brought to you by Lowe's. Alexia Gibson has built an empire on sea moss and got a big leg up because of ABC's Shark Tank. Gibson started the business because he believed in the health benefits of sea moss. While it was in its early stages, he appeared on Shark Tank and caught the attention of Mark Cuban alongside comedian Kevin Hart. Gibson spoke to Bloomberg about how getting a thumbs up from Cuban was exactly what he was hoping for.
I went there wanting Mark from the beginning, but he technically always invests in technology companies, so I knew with me with a supplement brand it would have been a stretch, but he came back at the end of the show and nudged Kevin Hart and said, hey, let's do this together. Yeah. And I was like, there's no way I could say no to that.
Today, Gibson serves as president and CEO of the Transformation Factory, which boasts over 20,000 regular sea moss buyers. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies to same item, current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free.
I went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins.
Join the millions of people who are celebrating going hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Footwear you just step into and they're on.
It's crazy how something as simple as a pair of shoes have made my life better.
After trying Skechers Slip-ins, I want all my shoes to have this technology.
See what everybody can't stop talking about. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect that of the staff and management of Good Karma Brands, but are the sole responsibility of the hosts and guests of this particular show.
America may have many, many days, but they will be full of trouble. There will be no rest. There will be no tranquility in this country until the nation comes to terms with our problems.
Bringing you social and political commentary from his mouth to your ears. Breaking down the issues which matter to you.
You're not put here to be a white man's footstool. You're put here to represent the very best in God's word.
Legendary civil rights icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson in the studio. Reverend Jackson, how are you?
Mr. Reverend, good morning on this chilly Milwaukee morning.
And I am pleased to have one of the founding members of the Black Panther Party, Chairman Bobby Seale. Mr. Chairman, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
From Mr. Eric Holder. Mr. Holder, so good to see you. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, man. How you been? It's been a long time. Haven't seen you for a while.
the Dr. Cornell West. Dr. West, how are you, sir?
My dear brother, you're so kind, you're so generous, though, man. But I salute you and the work that you were doing there. Doing a magnificent job there in Wisconsin.
Stream live on 1017thetruth.com. Call in with your questions or comments. 833-212-1017. Join us on social media at 1017 The Truth. It may not be what you expect to hear, but I will definitely give you what you need to know. Are you ready for the truth?
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Now, live from the American Family Insurance Studio at the Avenue in the heart of downtown Milwaukee, here is Sherwin Hughes.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Today is Thursday, June 5th, 2025. There are things that I recall from my childhood with great specificity, especially those things that conflicted me. There were things that I just simply didn't understand. And also, in the mind of a child, there's a lot about the grown-up world that you just don't get. And one of the great things about maturity and getting older is you can look back on some of your childhood experiences that you did not understand then. And you can look at those same experiences through the lens of your memory, and you can apply some causality and causation to them. So things that I didn't know as a child, I reflect back on those things as an adult, and they can be much more easily explained. There's this one particular thing. It's a culinary phenomenon, I'm going to call it. I can't think of any other term to label this weird combination of dishes that was ubiquitous in my family, both sides of my family, maternal and paternal. Aunts, uncles, cousins, extended families, etc. And it was the combination of fish. You know, black folks have a penchant toward fried fish, more specifically catfish. And you guys know how I feel about catfish. It's disgusting. I got to be really, 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 really hungry to eat catfish. And if it's good, it's because it was breaded heavily and it's doused in hot sauce, because catfish is disgusting. I know that puts me at odds with some folks, but come on, there's so many other types of fish that are so much better. But I never, even as a kid, understood why fish and spaghetti were served together. It made no sense to me then. It makes no sense to me now, because they are completely conflicting dishes. And it's fascinating because they are main dishes. Spaghetti in and of itself is a main dish, and so is fish. It's not a side. It is not. I'm going to explain this to you so people have a much better understanding of how this fish and spaghetti thing came to pass. And then it's going to roll us into what I want the ultimate topic of today's program to be. Until further notice, all backyard barbecue invitations to white people are being suspended. Relax, calm down. Listen, we just want to investigate. We want to sort some things out. We're just going to put a pause on you all coming to the backyard barbecues. Look, if Donald Trump can do another 19-country travel ban, then we as black folks reserve the right to suspend all backyard barbecue invitations to white people. I'm not sure what the hell we was thinking in the first place by giving out the invitations, but don't worry, we're going to get to that in a little while, and I want to explain that one thoroughly. But I never understood why my family and so many other black families, churches, get-togethers, gatherings, funerals, repasts, all that, they serve fish and spaghetti. It is, I guess, Southern, I don't want to call it a delicacy, but it's not even in the South. It's all over the place. Where you have African Americans that do have their roots in the South, fish and spaghetti are ubiquitous and serve with one another. So I remember as a child, I would never eat both at the same time because it's disgusting. Because fish has its own sides. Fish, coleslaw, potato salad. What's another side you can eat with fish? Macaroni and cheese. Or my favorite side of all time, the hush puppy. Who doesn't like a little bowl of fried cornbread? Hard to find nowadays. Hard to find a good hush puppy these days. Back in the day, it seemed like in the 80s, you could get a hush puppy everywhere. Hell, you can get hush puppies at Red Lobster now. Hard to find a good hush puppy. Maybe because, I don't know, the puppies are all hushed. I'm not sure. The origins of fried fish and spaghetti start in the Mississippi Delta in the late 19th century and early 20th century. When emancipation became the rule of the day, Southern plantation owners were in desperate need for labor to harvest the crops that used to be the labor of slaves. Okay, so imagine your entire workforce essentially no longer exists. Your entire workforce now has to be paid a wage, even though they kind of shifted us into sharecropping, which is a cycle of poverty. You still had to pay something or provide something for the labor that people were performing. And so there was a huge need for labor. And plus, a lot of African Americans that did work in the plantation economy fled the South. So not only did African Americans who remained in the South have to get some kind of compensation for their labor, a lot of us left altogether. We went north, we went west, etc. And so Southern plantation owners didn't sell their land. They still had their land, but they needed tremendous amounts of labor. Well, Italian immigrants were starting to come to the United States as well. And they have a very interesting history, the Italians do, because anyone from Southern Europe was not seen as thoroughly and fully white by Northern and Western Europeans. So when Italians came here, they faced a tremendous amount of discrimination. However, I will contend that Italians faced more discrimination because they were Catholic than because they were Southern European. However, I digress. While black sharecroppers and black laborers and Italians didn't live together, they were still segregated by race because Italians were still seen in the South as some form of white, but probably more despised because they were Catholic. They didn't live with African Americans. They lived adjacent, right? So Italians had their own segregated neighborhoods in the Mississippi Delta, and black people had their own neighborhoods as well. But because they had shared economic interests, plantation owners would hire the Italian immigrants to perform the labors that were once done by slaves. And of course, African Americans who remained in the South and were sharecropping were laboring right along with the Italians. And because there was this workplace proximity, I'm going to call it, there was a meeting of the cuisines. African Americans, of course, serving our fried fish, something the Italians had never had before. And of course, it's always us. It's always us being friendly. It's always us with the invitation, always extending our hand to people that fundamentally hate us. A couple other things I can say about the Italians. If you look at all racial and ethnic groups, I don't know if there is one that is more racist against black people than any other European nationality. The Italians have, do, and probably to some extent culturally always will hate black people, because I believe they saw themselves as better than us. But when they arrived in America, and depending upon where they arrived, their economic status was even lower than some African Americans. Really fascinating story with these Italians. But man, do they hate them some blacks. So because in the Mississippi Delta in the early 20th century, late 19th century, there were shared economic interests between these newly arriving Catholic Italian immigrants and African Americans who were relegated to sharecropping, they began to fellowship together over food. And the African Americans would provide the fried fish, which the Italians had never had before. And so the Italians would provide the spaghetti because it was cheap. It's good, I guess. It's savory, and African Americans, you got to keep in mind at that time, had never had spaghetti before. Think about what we were eating or what our food options were when we were slaves and on the plantation. I assure you it wasn't spaghetti. And because the Italians didn't have a lot of money and spaghetti is very cheap, they would bring their spaghetti and we would eat their spaghetti with our fried fish. That is where that combination was born. They don't even make any sense if you look at them like culinarily. Fish and spaghetti make no sense, but it just shows the extension of gratitude, I suppose, from two groups that had shared economic interests, right? That is where that combination came from. And it's so fascinating to see, even now, 125, 150 years later, that culinary combination is still eaten by African Americans. But I find it so interesting. We have adopted that Italian cuisine as black folks as one of our side dishes when we serve our Friday fish fries. Or quite honestly, black folks eat fish all the damn time. But the Italians adopted nothing from us. It's a real weird one-way kind of transaction, right? We invited them to fellowship with us because we saw our interests similar to theirs, but then ultimately the Italians moved away and migrated away and very much so separated themselves from African American culture. Even right now in America, you don't see black and Italian neighborhoods. You don't see fusion restaurants of Italian food and soul food. Does not exist. But I think that is us as black people being so just sympathetic to other people, even though those other people may hate our guts, our ability to see the sadness in somebody else's condition and want them to be one of our allies. We have to stop doing that because we are the only group that does that. And maybe subconsciously we believe that if we are nice to everybody and if we are gracious to everybody and if we're hospitable to everybody and if we extend our hands to everybody and invite them to join us, then maybe, just maybe, they'll respect us as people. That will never happen. It will never happen. And we just got to figure that out. We got to stop doing it. I know that there's something that's so self-sacrificial to black people, and I think a lot of it is just Christianity. Let people screw you over, take away your rights, try and stop you from voting, stifle you economically, fund your schools less, basically have you on the lowest rung of society, have less health care available to your people, in fact, try and cut the health care. But for some reason, black folks still want to invite them in. For what? For what? We're going to go down a couple of rabbit holes today. Sorry, Benjamin, but I'm going to steal your term. I also want to take a more critical look at feminism, because that is also something else that African American women have adopted from white women. But when white women were curating the different waves of feminism, it prioritized white middle-class women, and it also assumed something. It assumed that black women had the same economic opportunities as white women. That is the failure of feminism. Therefore, at the root of what I believe is the progressive movement in America is the failure to understand the implication of race. So, real quick story, and I'm going to take a break. In 2015, 2016, America was very much at a crossroads, right? There was a large number of people who were being left behind economically, and we were becoming a much more digitized society. There was much more automation, and factories were going overseas, leaving cohorts of men, black, white, and other races as well, underemployed or unemployed. And so this rising tide of economic anxiety was beginning to bubble up. Bernie Sanders enters the scene as the Democratic socialist, saying, you know what? The working class are being screwed over by the wealthy and the rich elites. And quite honestly, that sentiment echoes in a lot of cities and a lot of towns in Gary, Indiana, Chicago, Illinois, Milwaukee, Saginaw, Michigan, Flint, Michigan, where these wealthy corporate profiteers are screwing over working class people. And you see the abandoned neighborhoods in Flint, Michigan, where when the auto companies were great and you had people that had these huge houses, but then the auto companies started closing and more factory jobs started going overseas. You see these neighborhoods now turn to empty wastelands. And Bernie Sanders would say it's the wealthy elites and the corporatists who prioritize profit over people, and that is why we have so much suffering, because we don't manufacture things anymore, and this kept a lot of men, both black and white, employed. But what Bernie Sanders failed to do, and where Donald Trump was successful, Bernie Sanders, even still to this day, has an inability to look at the intersection of race when it comes to economics. He thinks that race is secondary. Race doesn't matter. Racism is a thing of the past. People are upset because of the economic depravity. True, they are, but race plays a role in that too. And Bernie Sanders never understood that. Trump did. Trump said, yes, I know that you're starving and you don't have jobs anymore. We're going to bring back jobs. But at the same time, we're going to ban Africans. We're going to send these illegals back and we're going to build a wall. That was the difference. Trump understood the interplay of race and Bernie Sanders did not. And even if you evolve with the Democratic Party over the next 9, almost 10 years, the Democrats still, and the progressives, still don't understand the interplay of race. They just want to make it all about economic deprivation. Now, Kamala Harris tried, but, I mean, she was a woman, so that's why she didn't win. We're going to go deep today, and hopefully we'll have some understanding and some clarity. I also want to share with you guys at some point, I made a query. I created a prompt for artificial intelligence, and it told me essentially, I can't tell if it was joking or not. I have no idea if my specific AI algorithm has a sense of humor or not. It said that black people need to stop inviting white people to the barbecue. Damn! Because I asked it essentially, what can we do to work with, to resolve, to dissolve these racial issues that still exist? Like, what can we as black people do? Because I want to arm my community with knowledge and with information from the all-knowing, omniscient artificial intelligence. And it basically said, stop inviting white people to your backyard because they're not inviting you to theirs. Well, we're going to dig in today. We're going to do it. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Truth Nation, unfortunately, violence is on the rise in Milwaukee, and this is a problem which impacts us all. Please join me and the Truth team on Saturday, July 12th from 9 a.m. to noon for our third annual Walk Against Violence, supported by 1MKE. Enough is enough. Now it's time to bring an end to senseless violence in our community. To join our Walk Against Violence on Saturday, July 12th, visit truthwalkagainstviolence.com to sign up today.
It's 101.7 The Truth's Dr. Ken Harris for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. When it's time to upgrade your windows and doors, wouldn't you like to work with the best? But maybe you're thinking in these volatile times, I don't want to spend a fortune. Well, Pella, the best in the industry, has a product line for every budget. And right now, you can get no interest and no payments for up to 2 years. And if the plan is to wait, guess what? You can get it now and wait to start making payments up to 2 years. Pella truly believes that quality windows and doors don't have to be expensive. With a range of affordable options and products assembled in the U.S., you can get the look you want at a price you can afford. And with Pella's free in-home consultation, no obligation quote, and range of available financing, getting new windows and doors from Pella is easier than you think. Certain restrictions apply. Ends June 30th of 2025. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I'm a fan of Blondie. Blondie is who Madonna tried to be, but I think Madonna missed the mark. Madonna went in a different direction, but I think that Blondie was the inspiration for Madonna. Brian has a pretty standard, non-imaginative reply from a white person that does not critically think on race. And here's the thing, we don't We don't require white people to critically think on race. It's something that they can ignore. It's something that they don't have to be burdened with. It is something they don't have to be bothered with. And I want folks to really understand this. Now, I'm not blaming white people for this, but I'm saying that they are victimized by racism too, but they don't see it. This is why we don't get anywhere. No one gets anywhere. Nobody evolves. No society becomes better unless someone takes serious responsibility for the problems in that society and say, hey, here, I'm going to take responsibility. We're going to take responsibility. We can't fix or change what happened in the past, but we're responsible for its effects right now. And white folks are just like, well, let's just forget about all that stuff that happened a long time ago, and then we'll all just come together. And that is not how it works. It isn't. Somebody punches you in the face and they don't apologize and they say, well, just forget that I punched you in the face. Why are you being so mean? Yes, I punched you in the face. Okay, fine. Are you going to be mad at me forever? Well, yeah, I can be if I want to be, especially if you don't take responsibility for it. But that was a long time ago when I punched you in the face. No, it doesn't matter. You still punched me in the face. You don't get to tell me when I forgive you for the punch in my face, especially when I didn't deserve it. Now, and I've said this 1,000,001 times because it's almost like the more we talk about race, the more they tune us out, which I know that that's the truth because they say the same thing all the time. Why don't the black people bring us together? We didn't drive anybody apart. We didn't create these systems. We didn't create a system, a political system, to make it impossible for black people to vote. We didn't create a domestic terrorist organization to scare black people from participating in civic life. We never controlled a transit system and told white folks that paid the same fare as everybody else that these are their designated seats, and if a black person needed a seat, that a white person had to stand up. So it is not our responsibility to want to come together and bring everybody back together. It is white folks' responsibility. Now, here's an example that I use that they better understand, because you got to talk to them sometimes like they're children. In this regard, I mean, you can talk to white folks about like science and physics and that kind of stuff, and then they're like real smart. But when it comes to race, they're literally children. But Sherwin, I don't understand how come the black folks so angry, mad at me. And I'll be like a 64-year-old white woman will talk like that with a PhD in mathematics. When it comes to race, how come you don't like the raisins in my potato salad? I've never seen raisins in a potato salad. What if it's good? It might be. I don't know. I've never tried it. It is not our responsibility to bring anybody together. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to tell our stories and we're going to illustrate our reality. And if a white person feels guilty, that's a you problem. Resolve your guilt. I'm not here to resolve your guilt or make you feel better about a history that you don't even want to teach. If I look at the environment, this is something that's a little bit more relatable to them because they're big on climate. You know, the storms are going to be more severe. There was just some flooding very recently. I can't even keep up with major weather events. The hurricanes in, the Gulf of Mexico and Florida and down in that area, they're going to get worse. They're going to be much more frequent. The heat waves are going to be insane. You got wildfires in Canada again because of drought conditions, and fires are starting impacting our air quality here. These are all climate change related environmental factors that Al Gore tried to tell us about a very, very long time ago, and we are starting to see the impacts of all of the carbon emissions that is having fundamental changes to our weather. Now, here's the thing. The people that are around right now that are dealing with the wildfires and the wildfire smokes and the 100+ degree temperatures that some states saw in April and in May, and the sheer volume of hurricanes and flooding and severe storms, it's going to have an impact on the economy, because when you get all of that rain and the storms and the hurricanes, it really hurts our food production, which is interesting because if America can't grow food, and you just think about this now, if America can't grow food because a lot of our fields, our agricultural fields, are flooded, there's tariffs on the food that we need, because Trump put tariffs on other countries. So the food that we can't grow, that we're going to be forced to have to, because Americans are fat people. We eat everything. There's content creators on social media that make tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by eating. How do I know? Because I watch them and it's fascinating. the climate is going to have an impact on food production in America, and if we want to make sure that the demand for certain types of crops and produce is met, the countries in which we're going to need to purchase this produce from, there's tariffs on us, so it's going to hurt us economically. I am not blaming anyone who is alive right now for the climate crisis, but it's our responsibility to mitigate it. I am not blaming a white person that is alive right now for slavery, but you have a responsibility to mitigate its impacts and its effects instead of telling us as black people that we all need to just come together. Shut up. And I say that with all due respect. We have a responsibility right now to try and mitigate what was done before and by other people. Now we can reduce carbon emissions as individuals. There's things that we can do. We can be mindful of our waste, and we can use a little bit less electricity because those coal-fired plants do contribute to carbon emissions. There are things that we can do with what we call ICE engines, internal combustion engines. There's things that we can do to make them much more efficient. There are things we can do to mitigate the damage that has been done by past transgressions. So you can't just say when it comes to the climate, oh, well, people messed up the climate a long time ago. Let's just forget about it and enjoy the hot weather. No. We have a responsibility to do whatever we can and to lay at least a scientific groundwork and foundation where future generations who are going to have it way worse than us are going to be able to use our attempts at mitigating the damage for their salvation in the future. You understand? But for a white person who doesn't want to be burdened with history, for them to be dismissive of the conditions that brought African Americans to where they are right now, because a white person doesn't want to have to think about how people like them played a role in creating comfortable and cushy and more opportunities for white people at black people's expense, because a white person right now wants to be all golden and wants to be all liberal and wants to be all saintly. You don't get to dismiss the history that black people are forced to reckon with every single day. Okay, that is a privilege that you got to go get somewhere else, because I'm not going to give it to you, because I'm going to require you to have an intellectual understanding of oppression. And if you don't have an intellectual understanding of oppression, that's perfectly fine. Then just go do something else, go paint houses maybe, or go, I don't know, what else can they do? Go fishing, go catch you some crappies and some bluegills, you know what I mean? But don't engage in the discourse unless you are ready to engage in the discourse. And most of them are not. And they think that they can engage in the discourse because of their privilege. Got a lot we're going to talk about today. I'm going to take a break, come back. I'm going to talk about this troubling thing that AI illustrated to me. Until further notice, we're just going to have to rescind all of the backyard barbecue invitations to the whites. Don't panic. Just chill out. We're just going to try and figure this thing out. Remember when Donald Trump did his first travel ban? He was like, we're just going to try and figure it out. Everybody relax. We're just going to figure it out. We're going to do some investigating. Well, African Americans, I think it is our time to do a little investigating on our own. And while the investigation is underway, because what did we get from giving them invitations to our space? And they saw it as a badge of honor. Isn't that crazy? When a white person would receive an invitation to a cookout, they got all happy about it. Why did they get so happy about something so menial? Because they know that they weren't supposed to be there in the first place. That's why they got happy. Oh my God, I'm invited to the cookout. Oh my gosh. And they'll whisper over to their partner, if they only knew how much we said the N-word, they would never give us this invitation. So shh, be quiet. Don't let them know that we actually use the N-word. Shh, that we don't want our kids to go to school with their kids. But we sure would love to try their baked beans. I'm going to tell you what, I don't really care for how black people make baked beans. They make them too sweet. I think that they do. They put too much sugar in their baked beans. I don't like a sweet baked bean. I like a savory baked bean. Put a little ground beef in that baked bean. Make it a little hearty, but just relax on the sugar. I mean, it's a little tiny bit of brown sugar. in the baked bean, but I don't like a lot of sugar in my baked bean. I also don't like a German potato salad. The Germans should stick to either autocratic leaders or making cars, but I don't like the German potato salad. I'm just not a fan of it. And have you ever asked a German person what's in their potato salad? It's like, hi, Frau, can you please tell me what's in your potato salad? And then they'll slap you, say, "We will ask the questions." Like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Life's better with American Family Insurance. Because whether it's a family road trip in your dream car or hosting a family reunion in your dream home, we help you feel protected so you can enjoy those dreams with peace of mind. Save up to 23% when you bundle home and auto. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Need to look sharp for graduation? You need
the $100 hookup.
Want to get decked out for prom? Get the
$100 hookup.
An incredible deal that includes a marvelous suit, shirt, and tie, all for $100. Only at Nick Avani's, home of the
$100 hookup.
And that isn't limited to some standard stock suit. You'll be pleased by the top quality and variety of fashion offered at Nick Avani's. Get hooked up today at Nick Avani's in Mayfair Mall and at nickavanis.com.
It's time for Truth Takes, a thought-provoking commentary on the award-winning 101.7 The Truth. Here is Sherwin Hughes with his truth.
Most people don't know that a county executive is a higher elected position than a mayor. Most people don't know what a state assembly representative does, a state senator, nor their function in overall state government. Most people, in fact, don't know what a school board representative actually does. Ask a person who their county board supervisor is, and they'll likely shrug their shoulders. Also, most people don't vote. We're in for a world of hurt. If we don't know the functions of our government at the very basic level, then we are not nearly equipped for what is going to happen to this nation for the next 4 years. All they had to do was tell unsophisticated folks gas prices are too high, inflation is too high, bacon and eggs cost too much. It's this guy's fault. It's this party's fault. Vote for us. Don't think about the criminal prosecutions. Don't think about all the malfeasance. Don't think about all of the misconduct and the corruption. We're going to make your bacon cheaper. We're going to make your eggs cheaper. We're also going to gut the FBI. We're also going to gut anything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to shred this nation from the top to the bottom, all in favor of a handful of folks. How about this? Let's tell people that immigrants are actually the problem. And then Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk will bring in the most highly trained immigrants this nation has ever seen. Why? Because Americans are none the wiser. Don't believe me? Look at public school children's performance, not just in Milwaukee, not just in Wisconsin, but nationwide. Get ready for a long ride, ladies and gentlemen. A very long ride.
This has been Truth Takes on the award-winning 101.7 The Truth. Listen to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes weekdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Everybody freaked out about my hairstyle yesterday. That's crazy, man. It's like I can't change my hair up. All sorts of people talk, even my colleagues around here, people that I didn't even think paid attention to my program here. Folks, other people that work at Good Karma brands, like, oh, Sherwin, we liked your hair. I'm like, thanks. I would rather them pay attention to what I say and listen to the content instead of just looking at my beautiful braids and my beads. All right, what do we got here? Kimberly says the Chancery in Mequon still has the Hush Puppies potato pancakes with the all-you-can-eat cod on Fridays. Thanks, Kim. But I'll be damned if I drive to Mequon to get a Hush Puppy. I don't want to drive to Mequon for anything. I mean, I guess I'd go to Mequon to pick up some money. Other than that, I don't go. The only place outside the city, and I pride myself on this, I go to Wauwatosa for stuff. I don't have to because I have an alternative in Milwaukee, but sometimes the service is a little bit better. And Wauwatosa is real close to where I live. But most of what I do, most of my traveling, my commuting, my dining, my entertaining is in the city of Milwaukee. This is where I spend my money. This is where I live. This is where I work. This is where I vote. This is where I pay my property taxes. And I'm totally okay with that. There was a period of time where I spent more clock outside of the city, spent more money outside of the city, hung out at suburban shopping malls, et cetera, et cetera. Now there's been, in my opinion, a positive resurgence in Milwaukee to where they can now capture more of my dollars. But even going back in a day, like my entertainment has really always been in Milwaukee. The suburbs used to offer some back when like nightclubs and dance clubs were a thing. You can't even do that anymore. The nightclub and the dance club is a thing of the past. It's a relic of the 20th century. There used to be a place called Nitro's. It was right on the corner of Water Street, and that must be Clybourne right there. Then it was Joey Bona's. It was the Brett Favre Steakhouse. I don't know what the hell it is right now. A 3-level, 1,500-person capacity nightclub. You can't put 1,500 people. The best you can do as far as putting a bunch of people in a venue is you could do like a concert venue, but you can't do a nightclub, like a dance club that has a capacity of 1,000 people, 1,500 people in the city of Milwaukee because it would be too dangerous. If you did do it, and here's the unfortunate reality, because you want to keep certain elements out, right? Because certain elements, you know the kind of element that I'm talking about? The kind that drives the Dodge Charger that pays a really high interest rate. I was going to do this whole segment on stereotyping people based on cars, but y'all would get so mad at me. Because there's certain cars that go with certain stereotypes. Let me table that for a second. So the only way that you can keep a certain element out is if the price is exorbitant. And even then, some of that element is still going to sneak in. But if you don't want a certain element that you think will ruin your establishment or cause problems or start fights, just make it really, really, really expensive. And for a while that worked, but then that element still finds a way to get money, and then it becomes a status symbol for that element. Does that make sense to you? Like they know damn well they shouldn't be going to a place where the drinks are $15 or $17 or $18 because that's ridiculous. But if they make enough money, especially in the underground economy, then they'll splurge by going to a place that is too expensive to show everybody that they've arrived. It's that arrival syndrome thing that I talked about earlier in the week, that we'll spend ridiculous amounts of money to make it look like we fit into places that we really don't. If you drive a late model Dodge Charger, a 4-door, not only are you a felon, but you snitched. Like, you snitched and still got a felony. Okay? Now, if you drive a 2-door Dodge Challenger, you're a felon too, but you got snitched on. Right? Like, you were higher up in the pecking order of crime, because that's actually a nicer car. I think the Challenger is a nicer vehicle than the Charger. If you drive an Infiniti G anything, you're gonna commit a violent crime, or you did already. Either you did, if you drive an Infiniti, anything, the least of what you're going to do is drive recklessly. But like you've got a gun under the seat. You got a gun that you bought off the street. Speaking of guns, somebody just posted something about a gun buyback. Did you guys see that in the Hughes Views Facebook group? Somebody passed it along to me and I posted it. I want to talk about that because gun buybacks, they don't work as intended. I mean, it's good to get some guns off the street or whatever, but 90% of the guns that are taken off the street or taken out of circulation from gun buybacks is like old rural farmers that have a rusty shotgun that they're not going to use anymore and somebody's going to give them $50 for it. It's not street guns. Those guns don't really get taken off the street via gun buybacks. All right, I'm going to take a break, come back. I kind of want to wait until hour 2 to dive into feminism and what it did to black women. This is not me saying that black women shouldn't be feminists, but it kind of played a trick on black women. It's almost like that was another barbecue invitation, right? Where black women who are economically empowered, we know black women have really high levels of education, and they wanted to link up and like build a sisterhood. But at the end of the day, those same white women who were promoting feminism went and voted for Trump, and they can't say that they didn't. Because white women, here's what we need to understand about America. I need people to see this lens, okay? The largest cohort of voters in this nation, the largest voting bloc in number, in sheer size, and in voter participation is white women. They decide. Others can participate. If white women say it is so, it shall be in American electoral politics. They are the largest voting bloc. Other than the group of voters in this country that don't vote at all, white women make political decisions. And they make political decisions on behalf of what serves them. And it's not working with black women, because wouldn't that be the ultimate congratulation to welcome black women into the cohort of feminism by electing Kamala Harris? Because Kamala Harris would have been all about that girl power. In fact, if Kamala Harris could have formed coalitions with women in Congress, women of any races, I think she would have preferred that than to form coalitions with the Congressional Black Caucus. And I wouldn't blame her for that. In fact, I would want her to do that. I would want her to. She's a woman. Absolutely. I'd appreciate it, and I'd learn a lot from it, because as a man, I wouldn't lose much. But no, white women are the biggest voting cohort in this country. And I also have to circle back to, by us extending this gratitude to white people by inviting them to our proverbial backyard cookouts as like I don't know, what would we even call it? Like a gift? A welcome present? I don't know. Like, we like you, you're okay with us. And then because remember back in starting in 2020, we wanted to identify white allies. Think about this. Where are all of them now? All the white folks that was out there burning up their shoe leather, Black Lives Matter, ain't not nan Black Lives Matter sign, placard, t-shirt. There's one place, it's a bar in Bayview called the Mothership. They still got a Black Lives Matter sign in the window. And I go to the Mothership for that reason. Like, I'll support y'all because y'all ain't afraid to take that sign down. But also, the Mothership put up a post and they had a press release to saying we're going to be closed during the RNC because we don't want a single Republican in the city even thinking that they would be welcome in our bar. Like, that was cold-blooded right there, because usually white folks don't take that kind of a public stance. They don't like to involve their businesses. Well, Elon Musk did, though. He hurt Tesla for a little while. And now look what Elon Musk is doing. He's crapping on Trump now. Isn't that crazy? But I appreciated the stance that this bar, the Mothership, took after the popularity of Black Lives Matter faded. And so we as black people thought that we had a whole collection of allies. Like, oh, you're invited to the barbecue. Like, oh, we want you to be closer to us. Like, you're good white people. You're good white people. Talk about irony. So George Floyd was murdered 5 years and 2 weeks ago, right? 5 years and a week. We have the same president now that we had when George Floyd was killed. So all of this racial reckoning and Black Lives Matter and all of the marching and the protesting, it amounted, not only did it amount to nothing, I'd say it put us right back where we were, but even further behind because we have not advanced. We have not advanced. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. Truth Nation, please join us for the 54th annual Juneteenth celebration in Milwaukee on Thursday, June 19th. The Truth will be broadcasting live from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., so don't miss out on your chance to celebrate with us with our live Juneteenth broadcast presented by Hope Christian Schools and Carroll University. 101.7 The Truth celebration of Juneteenth is also brought to you by American Family Insurance, Associated Bank, Gruber Law Offices, Molson Coors, and Educators Credit Union.
This is Sherwin Hughes from 101.7 The Truth for Axe Housing. Are you tired of paying a landlord rent when you should be paying yourself? Do you want to leave a financial legacy, or would you like to have a stable place to call home? Well, it's time for you to start on the path to owning your own home instead of renting. You can work with an Axe Housing coach, and they will teach you how home ownership can be a reality. Axe Housing has helped over 4,000 families in our neighborhoods. Many times your mortgage will be a lot less than what you're paying for rent. As an average Axe family who has been helped pays around $900 per month. No matter what barriers you think you're facing, Axe Housing coaches can assist you right now. An Axe Housing coach will help you create and stick to a plan and a budget and get you ready for home ownership. If you're not dreaming of home ownership by now, you certainly should be. Let's make it a reality with Axe Housing. Get started on a virtual orientation by clicking on axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Don't let where you are financially right now get in the way of your very bright future of becoming a homeowner. Axe coaches are here to help.
We believe that self-care isn't selfish. I'm Maddie from Sweet Talks, a women-owned and operated medical spa fostering self-love and confidence. We believe that beauty is about feeling empowered from within, and it's truly a passion for our team at Sweet Talks. Your goals are our goals. Our services go beyond injectables, including facials, lasers, medical weight loss, hormone therapy, and more. There's even a cafe, complimentary to all patients. Get started today at Sweet Talks in Menominee Falls. Learn more at sweettalks.com.
Summer in Milwaukee is nonstop. Festivals, live music, and fresh city vibes fill the season you already know. From world-famous cultural celebrations to hidden gem street fairs, every neighborhood is a stage, alive with handcrafted traditions, homegrown talent, and world-class entertainment. Music, flavor, culture, whenever you visit, the Cream City is ready to celebrate. This summer, don't just visit. Make sure you experience Milwaukee, the city of festivals.
Milwaukee has been living the high life since 1904. Miller High Life, the champagne of beers. Miller High Life and Beer Capital Distributing are proud to sponsor the Milwaukee Juneteenth celebration. 2025 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Celebrate responsibly.
Happy kids heal faster, and that's why Starlight is dedicated to improving the mental well-being of sick kids across the U.S. Learn how at starlight.org.
Serious truck crash? Call Gruber Law Offices today.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
If to show our acceptance and our gratitude for their allyship, we would invite white people to the backyard barbecue, what is the equivalent that they could invite us to? Is there one? I'm genuinely curious if we can show our acceptance and our willing to extend an olive branch and create an environment that is safe for conversations and maybe for a racial reckoning. We invite them to our coveted spaces, our private spaces, our backyard barbecue, where black people are letting loose and unwinding and our guard is down, because when we're around one another, our guard can be down and we can be our true, authentic selves, you see. And if we find some kind of kinship in them, maybe for a sacrifice that they made for us or an opportunity that they went out of their way to provide for a black person, we quote unquote invite them to the barbecue. What is the equivalent? Okay. And I don't know what the equivalent is. I'm curious what you guys think it is. And what have we been invited to of theirs? Because I think of it in broader terms. So we have the backyard barbecue, our coveted space where black people are free to be who they are and show our creativity and our sense of humor and our cultural expressions. And you can hear our music and you can see us dance rhythmically to all things black. And it's a multimedia experience. It's the sights, it's the sounds, it's the smell of gin and vodka. It's an old uncle telling stories that might be true, that might not be true. It's all of those things, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful fellowship, you see. What is the white equivalent? Because they've always had the opportunity to invite us into society, into opportunity, into the boardroom, into removing barriers to higher education, into being more fair, into investing more. Like for me, invite me to that. Invite me to wanting to put additional rules on policing. Like, where's that barbecue at? Where's that party that I'm invited to? Invite me to a much more decent and honest and fair America that looks at the things of the past and says, hey, you know what? I wasn't around for that. But here, let me take responsibility for what white supremacy and white nationalism did and how it's impacting you right now. Like, invite me to that. And that's why I see this one-way street, and it's very troubling, because I think we believed that we were going to get something, an improvement, maybe a different understanding, maybe changed policies, maybe a different political platform from Republicans. Invite me to the backyard barbecue where Republicans sit around and say, you know what? We actually can do some pretty significant outreach when it comes to African Americans, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to childcare, and when it comes to education. Invite me to that backyard barbecue where Republicans are saying, you know what, we have used race the wrong way for too long. Invite me to the backyard barbecue where the Republican Party says, you know what, the share of minorities and people of color in this country is growing, and let's see that if we can put together a political platform that takes into account some of the suffering that still exists unnecessarily because of, because people of color still suffer disproportionately. Let's have a political party platform in the Republican Party where we can be rivals and compete with the Democrats, because right now the Democrats have the monopoly on brown people and middle-class people and working poor people, et cetera, and on feminists, black feminists, white feminists. Invite me to that cookout, but see, that cookout doesn't exist. And if it did exist, they wouldn't invite us to it. So I think that we have been far too accommodating. And here's the thing. And so since I posted what I posted on social media, a lot of white folks are taking this personal because they know that they're not inviting us to anything. And if we're saying that we're no longer inviting them to our backyard barbecues, now they're starting to panic because then they're wondering, oh my God, are they going to get violent now? No, we're just treating you like you treat us. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for hour 2.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Start jamming in the morning and get your daily drop of juice.
Juice gets you hydrated and started for your day. And that's what we plan to do from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Every single morning, we're going to be keeping you in the mix, talking about everything you care about all before 9 a.m.
So wipe that crust out your eyes and get ready for jamming with juice.
Turning your mornings into your favorite part of the day.
Get that stank breath out of here. Brush your teeth.
It's it, bro. Like, what? Catch Jammin' with Juice
from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Milwaukee.
Here at the new 1017 The Truth, we aim to be a staple in Milwaukee's Black community. We are committed to partnering with local organizations and supporting Black-owned businesses. We are proud to call Milwaukee our city and promise to be a positive reflection of our community. We look forward to celebrating Black culture and excellence with you every day as we make history and continue to uplift the voices in our city. Join us for the journey at the new 1017 The Truth, founded by Gruber Law Offices. Milwaukee Black Talk.
Tired of hearing no from other banks? No to a loan? No to a checking account? Just no? At Brewery Credit Union, they find ways to say yes. Yes to second chances. Yes to rebuilding credit. Yes to helping you save, borrow, and thrive. Work with your credit specialist and move your financial life forward. Brewery Credit Union, Milwaukee's best place to borrow and save. Visit brewerycu.com. That is brewerycu.com. Federally insured by NCUA.
An unsuspecting driver at a gas station in Wisconsin.
Welcome, Pump 15. How you doing?
Great.
Were you wearing your seatbelt today?
I never wear my seatbelt.
We're going to get him. We're going to get him real good.
Oh, my goodness.
Hello, sir. How you doing? Donald Driver. It takes 1 second to strap a seatbelt on. Well, let's do this. Let's do it together. Now, don't that feel better?
Donald Driver can't always be there to remind you.
Click it or ticket.
And let's reduce fatalities on Wisconsin roadways.
And I should have recognized your voice when you're harassing.
I'm watching you.
Sponsored by Wisconsin DOT.
Truth Nation, let us talk our ish for a moment. There is no other station in the country where you get a front row seat to hear from some of the biggest names in politics, pop culture, and sports. People like Grammy Award winner John Legend.
Knowing that fight isn't over, knowing that we've got to stay motivated and stay inspired. Glory was the song that myself and Common wrote. Two brothers from the Midwest, from Chicago and from Springfield, Ohio.
Oscar Award winning actor Don Cheadle.
I know that we're the bright, shiny thing that sometimes gets the attention, but I would say don't listen to celebrities. You don't have to listen to us. Listen to yourself.
And President Donald Trump's son, Don Jr.
When did we have a strong economy? And I don't think anyone with a straight face can say right now. And the reality, when you look at it, it's not even voting for my father. Look at the team that's now surrounding him.
Tap into the award-winning and nationally recognized 1017 The Truth by downloading the Truth app and streaming us live at 1017 The Truth on YouTube. Milwaukee Black Talk. You're listening to the new 1017 The Truth, founded in partnership with American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Welcome to Hour 2 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. What spaces are gate kept by different cultural affiliate groups? We use the backyard barbecue as something that is gate kept by us because our backyard barbecue, save for some interracial or interethnic marriage, our backyard barbecues are gate kept by black people. Or even when we have, picnic areas, we rent a picnic area for a family reunion where black people wear T-shirts with the family name on them. I've never been to a white family reunion, not even by accident. Sometimes you just stumble across stuff. I've never been to a white family reunion. First of all, do they do them? Because, with white folks, like, brothers and sisters and stuff, like, don't talk. Y'all know that? They're like, there's members of their family they haven't talked to in like 30 years. It's the craziest thing ever. So I'm genuine curiosity here because I'd like to think that the radio is a place that is a focal point of community gathering because people can listen from all over the place, right? If I have a legitimate question, I want a legitimate answer. Do white people wear T-shirts when you guys go to family reunions? Why do we wear T-shirts? We got the same name. Why do we do that? Okay, whatever. But no, I'm curious. When white people have family reunions, like, what are they like? Do you even have them? So that could be something that is gate kept. I don't know if, unless you're married outside of your race, your culture, your nationality, or your ethnicity, we gatekeep our family reunions and we gatekeep our backyard barbecues. And when we open the gate to allow another race or another culture in, that is about the most gracious an effort that we can show. Because it's not everyone. I want people to understand this now. It's not everywhere in this society in which black people can feel safe. And I say that because you guys know about the phenomenon called the Karen that will call the police on a black man just minding his own business. The Karen, I don't know how many years ago it was black people barbecuing in a park and having a good time. She called the damn police. It was a brother that was bird watching. He was watching birds. He's out there looking at birds with binoculars. You call that bird watching. He's a birder watcher, probably a name for it. He was watching birds, and then the white lady, and he started filming, and she had a freak out moment. And I remember she snatched her dog and yanked her dog, and she was panicking and said, I'm going to call the police on you and tell them that you're threatening me. White people don't know what that's like. So there's not a lot of places, and I'm not looking for sympathy here. We know this as black folks. Therefore, sometimes we don't want to take the risk and go to places where our safety is not going to be guaranteed. Now, our safety isn't guaranteed no matter what, but I'm going to tell you what, it's real interesting of a phenomenon. I feel safer in a crowd of black folks of a certain age than I do in a crowd of white folks of the same age. I feel my absolute safest if I'm with a bunch of black folks that are 43 to 60. I can kick it. I can put my guard down. I can be myself. If I'm in that same crowd of white people from 43 to 60, anxiety is through the roof. In that African-American crowd of people aged 43 to 60, I can talk to anybody. You know what I'm saying? About anything with no apprehension, without the risk of feeling stupid or sounding stupid. I can just go up to them and tell them anything, introduce myself, want to know who they are. If I'm the only black person in a crowd of white folks between the ages of 43 and 60, I will shrink. Because I don't want to engage. Because you got to be prepared for some of the stuff that they say. And when I talk about some of the stuff that they may say, some of the real primitive racial attitudes that we allow them to get away with. We allow them to live their entire lives and not have any kind of critical understanding of who they are, what they did, their supremacy, their authority, and how little they know about us. And I don't want to engage in that sometimes. You got to have a lot of energy. Like, your social battery has to be high. Because if you're in one of those spaces with them, with white folks between the ages of 43 and 60, they'll drain you. Especially if you're the only black person, because you are now their reference. Now, it also depends on what the situation is, what the gathering is. It also depends on what they do for a living. If I'm in a room full of white social workers between the ages of 43 and 60, they can be racist too, because they have a whole history in their careers of snatching black children away from their mothers, right? But they may have somewhat more of a cultural understanding of black people, albeit from the wrong perspective. But if I'm in a room full of 43 to 60-year-old white people that are police officers, you understand me? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole different ball of wax altogether. But I would shrink. I wouldn't feel nearly as comfortable. So I'm trying to figure out, what do white people gatekeep to where if they extended an invitation to somebody black, it would be the equivalent or as close to the equivalent as we can get to a black person inviting a white person to the barbecue. I got a few things here that I was sent. It says family reunions that are steeped in old Americana traditions, county fairs, old school 4th of July gatherings. So I think I've been to white people's 4th of July gatherings. It's, it is what it is. A county fair, huh? Do you guys know that they used to have, I posted it, and it was here. It was in Wisconsin. It was like it was a carnival game. It's like, what? Hold on. I got to find it because I don't want to misrepresent it. It's like Hit the Nigger Baby. And it was a fair attraction. Yeah, right here. Hit the nigger baby. And it was in Wisconsin. Montclair Elementary School students and parents got a surprise in their 2025 yearbook. The school was celebrating its centennial, and the yearbook featured articles about the school's history over the past 100 years. One of the articles describes the 1940 annual carnival, and a particular game was highlighted in the story. Parents were outraged. The gist of the comments were about how unsettling it was to have to explain the article to their children. Some were annoyed that such a thing could even be discussed in 2025. Where's the other details on this? But there was it was in Wisconsin. Here we go. Violently racist carnival game. Hit the nigger baby, known as the Black Dodger or Hit the Coon. The history of the United States is both scarred and partly defined as racial subjugation and violence. Where's the it was in like Wisconsin Dells or something. Or no, it was at Camp Anakiji, which I think is in Washington County. And this was in the 1940s. So people that may have participated in this carnival game, that's why I don't know if I want to go. If I was invited to a white person to a county fair, I don't know if I'd go. No, they probably don't have Hit the Nigger Baby now. It's probably like something like pull them over when they leave, get the sheriff's department to chase them. But in the not so distant past, white carnival goers threw eggs or balls at an African American in a game popularly known as Hit the Nigger Baby. So that as an example. I don't expect white people alive right now to apologize for that. But their failure to know the impact that it had and their failure to not teach their children on some of the things that white people had the latitude to do. And this was not in the Jim Crow South. This was here in Washington County, one of the wow counties of the metro area. That is the problem that we have. It's a horrible, horrible thing. But do we... Because there were atrocities, and there are really horrible things that happen in history, because like human beings are awful. They are, especially when they get a bunch of power. We do real terrible stuff. And because we may have done atrocious things to one another in the past, should we not teach it? Should we just pretend it didn't happen because we don't want to scar children? If that's the case, why do we teach the Holocaust? I was in 8th grade when they made us watch this movie, Escape from Sobibor. I think in 8th grade we were way too young to watch that movie. But I also think that Governor Evers, he signed something. Didn't he do well, governors don't do executive orders. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a law where Holocaust education became compulsory in the state of Wisconsin. Okay, fair enough, good. But the Holocaust was horrendous. And the way it is taught with the horror. We can teach Wisconsin children who are 88% white about the Holocaust and all of its atrociousness, but won't teach white children about the atrocities committed against black people. There's a reason for that. Because if you are unaware of the ignorances of the past, you will repeat them. We are still a group of people, and it's still okay to harm us institutionally because they don't know anything about our history. The Jews understood they're going to bombard us with their history so we don't even come close to repeating it. They're going to have museums and monuments. They're even going to make some of the death camps and the concentration camps where you can go and tour them and go see them. They want to make sure that their history is very, very transparent. Ours, not so much. Very intentional. And so I would almost rather that be our invitation to the cookout, them saying, you know what, let's just realize that kids will be okay if we teach them about horrible things that happened in the past, but teach it in a context to show how bad it was and how far we have come since then. It will never do anything like that again. In fact, when you teach it with the atrocities built in to the teachings, you then can inform children to be like, hey, kids, if you ever see anything in your life that looks like these atrocities of Jim Crow, the atrocities of the Holocaust, you now have a duty to say something, to stand up, because look at all these horrible things that happened to the Jewish people during the Holocaust. So if you see anti-Semitism anywhere, you're supposed to stand up and say something. Very few people do that with African Americans because they simply refuse to teach our history. It's almost like they want to have us as a reserve race of people that can always still be abused. And then because when you delete our history, it makes it seem like the situations that we find ourselves in as black people is our fault. Because when you delete the history and you delete the impact of Jim Crow and you delete the impact of housing covenants and the impact that it has on black poverty, then it just looks like black people are lazy. And then if we qualify for welfare, which again is a program that was created with white people in mind for white people to benefit from, if we qualify for welfare, then we become welfare kings and welfare queens. You see what they do to us? So instead of us being invited to their county fairs, what's another one that somebody sent me? The equivalent. If a white person invites you to a hunting or a fishing trip or any other outdoor recreational activity, that is the equivalent of a black person inviting a white person to the cookout. I ain't going hunting with one. I don't know. I don't know if I want to be out there in the woods with a bunch of guns. And Dick Cheney shot a man in the face. You remember that when Dick Cheney shot a man in the face? Not only did Dick Cheney, when he shot a white guy though, not only did Dick Cheney shoot a man in the face on a hunting trip, I think the guy that got shot in the face apologized to Dick Cheney for his face getting in the way of the barrel of his shotgun. Here's another way in which white people can extend their olive branch, the equivalent to us inviting a white person to the barbecue. They can invite a black person to a church event in a historically white domination, historically white denomination. That would be nice. I've been to a white church before. A bunch. I've been to a bunch of white weddings. I've stood up in white weddings before. I told you guys about that. Their church services are boring. I took communion once. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. I thought everybody took communion at a white wedding. Because then after I took communion at the reception, people were like, oh, Sherwin, we didn't know that you were Catholic. It's like, I'm not. No, but you took communion. I was like, well, everybody in my row stood up and went up to the priest, and he put a little cracker on my tongue, and I got a little sip of nasty wine. Thought everybody did that. I didn't know that. I was in my 20s. I didn't know any better. But white church services, and no offense to white people, but they're really boring. How do you get excited about, everyone take out your hymn book? And Jesus said unto the flock, I cometh to thee with love. I shall provide thee with all of the fruits thy need for all of thine salvation. Let us join together in prayer. Peace be with you and unto you. It's so boring. I already fall asleep in church. No offense. But if I don't have like a hooping and hollering black pastor that's sweating, like real sweat, like congestive heart failure sweat, I'm going to fall asleep in church. I can't. I'm sorry. I think the hardest I ever was kicked in my entire life is I fell asleep in church. I went to church with my mother, and I was like, I don't know, probably like 10. And it's always hot. There was no air conditioning in black churches in the 80s. There wasn't any. Everybody had fans. And I fell asleep, and all of a sudden, my legs started throbbing. My mother kicked me to wake me up. It's rude. All right, let's take a break. Business networking or family wealth-related gatherings is a way in which white people can extend an olive branch to us that is similar to a black person inviting a white person to a cookout. Nothing sounds fun. A church event in a historically white denomination, a business networking or family wealth-related gathering, maybe. A hunting or a fishing trip, a family reunion steeped in old Americana traditions like a county fair or an old school 4th of July gathering are things that white people can do that are the equivalents to us inviting them to a backyard barbecue. But here's what's crazy. They don't invite us to these things. So it's always been one way. It's us being much more accommodating to them and wanting to bring them in and bring them closer to us, and them not returning the favor. And they are the ones that need to be, in my opinion, doing all of the inviting. Please open up your hymn book. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 17th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they battle the Chicago Cubs.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Delta Dental of Wisconsin. Tune in June 17th at 7:05 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check out your local listings to watch the game.
Why did Old National Bank decide to create this program?
You know, it was something that was near and dear to the heart of our chairman and CEO, Jim Bryant. Jim wanted us to do more in the African-American communities, more with minority-owned businesses. So he approached Roland Shelton, who was my boss in Evansville, Indiana, and said, Roland, we need to do more. We need to create a program that's going to allow individuals, minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses to access capital a lot better than traditionally we've been doing. And so we created the Empowerment Loan Program 2 years ago.
And for those that are now leaning more into this conversation, what's the best way to get in contact with you as part of their interest in the Empowerment Loan Program?
I'm going to give you my cell phone number to the listeners. It's 414-687-7393. And if that doesn't work, feel free to reach me at my email, tracy.meeks@oldnational.com.
Tracy Meeks, Senior Vice President, Community Lending Market Executive from Old National Bank.
At Hope Christian Schools, they're transforming lives through the power of Christ-centered education. Their nurturing environment combines academic excellence with strong Christian values. They offer free transportation and free tuition options to help set children up for success. Through faith, dedication, and unconditional love, they empower their scholars to discover their God-given potential and pursue their greater purpose. Don't wait. Start your child's journey at hopeschools.org.
Escape to paradise this summer at Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. Spacious accommodations, perfect for families or romantic getaways. Voted top 10 best water parks in the U.S., championship golf, the longest zip line in the area, and the #1 steakhouse in Wisconsin. Book a Chula Vista Resort all-inclusive package now at 1-800-388-4782 or visit chulavistaresort.com. Your summer paradise awaits.
Injured? Call Gruber Law Offices today. One call, that's all.
Literally one call, that's all.
I made one call and that's all, worry-free.
One call, that's all. It worked.
Just one call and that's all.
They will do what they say they're going to do. One call and that's all.
One call, that's all means security.
It's literally one call, that's all.
It's a phrase we'll never forget.
Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Whenever I talk honestly about race, it never fails. Can you guys actually appreciate how many times I've had similar conversations in the years that I've been broadcasting on these airwaves? A lot of times, right? And whenever I engage in these deep, thought-provoking, critically thought out conversations about race, I mean, the real cerebral stuff, the real heady stuff that most people don't burden themselves with because they don't burden themselves with the academic understanding of race and its implications. And there needs to be an academic understanding of race because somebody's zip code can determine, first of all, who lives there, if they have grocery stores or not. if the air and the water is more polluted, if there's lead pipes, if there's healthcare investments, I'm not done. If there's educational investments, okay? I can tell you about policing in these neighborhoods. So there needs to be an academic understanding of race. Most people don't burden themselves with that, but you've got me for that. And whenever I have the kinds of conversations that most people do not burden themselves with, there's always a white person that says, why do you feel this way about us? And they just sound like broken records. White folks need to talk to one another and get your script straight, because y'all say the exact same thing. But I have black friends and I like my black friends. Sherwin, I thought we've come so far. They say the exact same thing. This kind of stuff makes me think we live in a simulation, because there's literally no variation in what they say and how they respond. And they always defend it by saying, well, they have black friends. But here's what I want to tell them. And I hate to have to give them bad news, but I would rather be honest with them and give them the 101.7 the truth than to lie to them and to make them feel good, because clearly they have been lied to by people just to make them feel good. If you have never had an academic conversation about race and the impact that it can have on black people, our money, our opportunities, our the investments they make in our community, our politics, then you don't have black friends. You know black people. There is a difference. You do not have, or your black friends don't think you are intellectually equipped enough, that's right, smart enough, to handle the academic understanding and the impact of race. So you don't really have black friends. You know some black people that you're cool with, that you might do stuff with socially, but they are not your friends. Because we as black people, we have an obligation to have these kinds of conversations with our white friends. Otherwise, there is no point in having white friends at all. And don't take it personal. I know that their feelings get hurt very easily because they see themselves as good people because they, quote unquote, don't talk about race. And Sandra Rosales is just exemplifying that kind of white person to the T. Like, I couldn't have written her script better for her. And no offense, Sandra. She, I can pull it up here. I have the tab hidden. I think she says, Sherwin, I teach my children to respect all people regardless of their color. You're supposed to. Now teach your children that some people have suffered disproportionately. So here's what I don't get. This is what keeps me confused, because I've had these conversations. I built my career, honestly, on these conversations that y'all have never had. This is why this damn neighborhood, these communities are so segregated, because y'all still don't want to have the conversation, or some people are not intellectually equipped enough to understand the impact and the implications of race. That's why the policies often lag. And if it's only black people that have the intellectual understanding of race and white people don't, because we need them to vote for our policies too. But they won't, because they don't get it. They don't want to be burdened by it because it requires too much thinking. All right. Sandra, so you say you teach your children to respect all people, but also, do you teach your children some of the trials and tribulations that certain people had to go through? Or you just say everybody is even? So here's the part that I don't get. When black people talk about our experiences, it could be our individual experiences or anecdotal experiences, because every black person's got an incident where race was involved. Every single, we were called a nigger. We have something. We were harassed by the police. We got bad service in a restaurant. We called about a job, or we showed up to apply for a job. They said the job was already filled, but then the next day this job is in the paper again. We've all dealt with some of that. And when we bring that up and we talk about it, white people get real offended, because they just either, it's shocking to them, like, oh my God, I don't know that still happened, or they get mad at us for bringing it up. When women started using the hashtag #MeToo and women started telling their stories, a lot of men acted like and sounded like white people sound when we bring up issues of race, things that we never talked about with white people before. And when we bring them up, the white folks are astonished that we feel that way. I was astonished that women that I know and that I've loved, women in my family, had been sexually harassed and sexually assaulted before. I never knew that. And what do I say? Well, I've never done that to a woman. Don't get mad at me. Sandra, you sound like a man that finds out that his wife, his daughters, his mother, his auntie, his coworkers have actually been sexually assaulted? And women, sometimes you guys don't share that, do you? Because most men won't understand, or you're afraid that if you talk about your sexual assault and your sexual harassment to a man, you might be talking to a man that has done it before. So we sometimes withhold our discussions of race with white people because they might actually be a racist. Does that make sense to you, Sandra? If I can break through to you, Sandra, I can get a Nobel Peace Prize. If I can get you to understand, but I'm not racist. And I'm not a serial sexual assaulter. But that doesn't mean that I can't understand the impact and the severity of sexual assault that women have suffered at the hands of my gender. I'm not asking all white people to be responsible for race and racism and white supremacy, but I am asking you, though, to have a critical look at it and to see how you have benefited from it. I, as a man, can see how I benefit from the subjugation of women. It doesn't mean that I intentionally every single day go out and intentionally try and harm women. I live in a patriarchal society that literally rewards me for being a man. Just like white people have some built-in rewards for being white. They get the benefit of the doubt. They are more trusted. They have more economic and academic opportunity. Their air is cleaner. They're less likely to drink water out of lead pipes. They've got better health outcomes than us. They've got better grocery stores than us. They didn't ask for any of that. They just get it. But also as a man, there's some benefits that I get too. Right? That's all I'm asking. Because women wanted us as men to take it serious, but actually what happened, there was a backlash. Because y'all started Me Tooing a bunch of men, and it seemed like a very powerful moment for women where women were fighting back and pushing back, and then boom, Roe versus Wade gets overturned. And then boom, Donald Trump gets reelected. Then boom, you have the SAVE Act, meaning a woman who got married and changed her name can no longer vote because her name now doesn't match what is on her birth certificate. You see what I'm saying? So we do have a long way to go. And also, racial reckonings are not the end in itself. It is a process. We have to continue to strive and continue to get better and continue to learn. It's not like we have these conversations on race and then, oh, we're done with it. Oh, we elected Barack Obama. We're done. We don't have to talk about it no more. Electing Barack Obama is where the conversation starts. And we didn't continue the conversation. And what happened? We got Trump twice. Tried to get a black person twice, right? Got Obama once. Like, oh, let's try with Kamala Harris. Nope. Got Trump twice. Who would you argue if we're talking about racial reckonings and somebody like Sandra, not being a racist and raising her kids to respect all people? Who do you think is better to lead this nation if we're going to have a nation like the one that Sandra tells her kids about? Donald Trump or Barack Obama? America wants to maintain its racial hatred because it believes that certain people get advantages, and more importantly, it makes poor people and working class people of any race and any culture hate one another while we all get screwed over by the same people. That's really the best benefit. So if we all come together, we will quickly realize there's how many people in this country? Well, it depends if we count the migrants or not. It's like 330 or 340 million people. I feel like it's more than that. It might be 400 million people in America. Like 400 million people are getting screwed over by like 10,000 people. 10,000 people. Everybody don't fill out the census, though. I know a lot. Like they say if they get 8 in 10 African Americans to fill out the census, they're actually making progress. And I think we had inaccurate census counts because during 2020 there was a pandemic. Because you guys remember when census workers used to knock on the door? They used to come knock on the door. And a lot of us wouldn't answer because people think like, oh, my lease only says I can have 3 people in this house, but I have 7 people in the house. So we wouldn't be honest with the census worker because we thought the census worker would tell the landlord that we have more people in the house than the lease allows, even though the U.S. Census probably spent $50, $60, $70, $80 million on advertising to say, hey, we're not snitching on you. We just want to count you so we know how much money to give your congressional district. That's something else the folks need to know. The census, we got to know how many people live in the country or whatever, so we can do this thing called apportionment. But also, every person of population you have in a congressional district is $1,000 of federal dollars that you get for roads, bridges, infrastructure, highways, education, and healthcare. So the more people you have, the more federal money you get. So it always behooves us to participate in the census. There's a hospital, the baby hospital, St. Joseph's Hospital, right there on 50th and Chambers over there, was about to close, and they were saying we got to close our doors because we don't have enough resources. Well, part of the reason why and they stayed open, which they didn't want to, but they didn't get their allocation of federal healthcare dollars because people in that surrounding neighborhood, mostly African-American neighborhood, didn't fill out the census. And so when we're not counted in the census, the money that goes to the hospital that we go to when we get shot was threatening to close. So that's what the census is. That and a whole bunch of other stuff, mostly because the federal government is also very nosy as well. Let me take a break, come back. I have a theory about Sade Robinson, but I don't want to tell y'all because I think you guys are going to get mad. It's an objective statement, but it's too emotional of a topic. Maxwell Anderson is not going to get off. Even if the jury is a hung jury, they're just going to retry him. Like, dude will never be free again. But the story of her, first of all, they met 3 days prior to the disappearance. Now, when they were at the Twisted Fisherman, that was probably like the first, like, quote unquote date, but they met at Victor's that Friday, like 3 or 4 days prior to the first date that we thought that they went on. Like, there was no knowledge that they knew each other prior to that date that they went on, where they went to Duke's on Water Street and they went to the Twisted Fisherman. I think they went somewhere else as well. They knew each other prior to that. And that lends itself to my theory. Really what I should just do, because y'all will get mad at me if I say it, I'll just wait until all the information comes out and we can discuss it then. How about we do that? Because y'all going to get real mad at me because you're not going to like it. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Ready to buy your first house, move into your forever home, or simply refinance? At Associated Bank, they've got you. With the right lending plan and guidance, you can achieve your dreams. Your financial goals are closer than you think, and Associated Bank is excited to help you reach them. Learn more at associatedbank.com/lending or ask a banker for details. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Keep your business safe, secure, and spotless with the Omega Security Guard and Cleaning Team. Proudly located in Milwaukee and female-owned, Omega delivers professional security and tailored cleaning services to meet your needs. Whether it's event security or a custom cleaning plan, their dedicated team goes above and beyond to exceed your expectations. Because at Omega, they're not just your service provider, they're your partner in peace of mind. Contact Omega Security Guard today or online at OmegaSecurityGuard.com. Omega Security Guard and Cleaning, protecting what matters most.
This is your Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin Minute.
Victory Garden Initiative is an 1.5-acre urban farm that sits right in the middle of the Black community on Richards and Concordia. I don't know if you know that Harambe is a food desert. So within its borders, there are no major grocery stores. So people rely on things like dollar store, corner stores, liquor stores to buy food, which is all unhealthy. Everything we grow, and we grow everything, tomatoes to potatoes to carrots to corn to onions, to, and so on. And everything we grow is free to the community. It started in 2009. They wanted to build a sustainable food production system that was healthy and sustainable. And what that meant was giving people the resources to grow their own food and the skills to make sure that those attempts were successful.
This has been your Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin Minute.
Great impressions will exceed your expectations. Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
At
Great Impressions Graphics and Printing. They've been proudly serving the community for over 26 years from their location at the corner of 54th and Burleigh in Milwaukee. Their dedication to quality and customer satisfaction has made them a trusted name in printing and design. Great Impressions offer a wide range of services, including banners, posters, yard signs, business cards, programs, and postcards. Plus, they specialize in custom apparel printing, perfect for family reunions, sports outings, business promotions, and more. For your next project, visit greatimpress.com. That's greatimpress.com. Great Impressions. They're here when you need them.
Great impressions, perceptions, everything.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Did I run Sandra out of the YouTube chat? Oh, that just means that she wasn't intellectually equipped to participate. And all of you that are trying to assist that woman in showing her what she cannot see, I appreciate all of you. But like that is the example. There are some white folks that are so steeped in privilege, and white women too. Because when they don't understand, and they have never been challenged, and they have never been required to sit and grapple with the cognitive dissonance, then they turn into a victim. Well, I'll just leave then. If you don't want me here, why are you all? It has nothing to do with you, but that, like, I want people to witness that. And like this chat, if I could like screenshot it or freeze it, it is a perfect example, because we're over here talking about our reality as black people that we don't share very often, because white people just, they don't get it. And they all of a sudden see themselves as the victims. And why are you all coming down on me? Like, they get scared. It's really weird how they react to it, and white women in particular, because they play that victim card better than anybody else. But then also let me change it so that people better understand. I'll use gender. If women are talking about their experiences being objectified, sexually assaulted, and sexually harassed, and men just don't have the capacity to understand that, because men are not sexually harassed and sexually assaulted in the same way as women. Women are institutionally sexually assaulted and sexually harassed. Men are not. It's different. Men can suffer from sexual harassment, like white people can also suffer from really hybrid forms of racism, but it's rare and it's really super nuanced. But it's almost like women are saying, like, yeah, you know, men do this to us on a daily basis. They're real disrespectful, and they talk about our bodies. And me as a man, if I take that, well, but I don't do that. Why are you telling me all of this? I'm nice to all the women that I know. I don't talk to women like that. I have a wife and a daughter, and I have a mom. You can't. I have women in my life. I'm not a sexual assaulter. Why are you talking to me like this? That is the equivalent of a white woman who is coming to terms with the fact that she knows very little about race. And if a man did that, I would dismiss him. If a woman is being honest and being vulnerable, says, hey, look, this is some of the stuff that women experience. And the Me Too hashtag was a great awakening and a reckoning for everybody. Because when I saw the hashtag pop up, with women that I've known my whole life, and I had no idea, you know, that there are black people, for you white people out there that have black friends, or for you white people that actually, quote, know black people, but because it's such like a badge of honor to have a black friend, you call a black person whose birthday you know, one of your friends. Your black friends have experienced things at the hands of white people that they don't want to tell you, because you'll either dismiss it or you'll somehow make it the black person's fault, or you'll diminish it, or by telling that white person that you've experienced something racial, that white person, all of a sudden, they're going to become the victim, so we just don't tell you. The Me Too hashtag was that reckoning for men. We're like, how come you didn't tell me? And women could collectively say, because you wouldn't understand. That's why we didn't tell you. So when we talk about race, well, white folks, they're wondering, but Sherwin, I had no idea. I just treated everybody like an equal. I had no idea that you all still went through this and you dealt with this and you'd been called the N-word. Most white people, which is crazy because every white person knows a racist white person. Not only do they know a racist white person, they know a racist white person that's like an employer. They know a racist white person that works in HR. They know a racist white person that works in academia. They know a racist white person that works in healthcare, where we die spectacularly quick, black folks in American healthcare. But for some reason, they don't think that their black friends have experienced any of that. Huh. And then when we, at the backyard barbecue, when we tell white folks about these things, they're just utterly shocked because they, for some reason, this is the education system's fault, they can't put the two and two together that their racist uncle that's a doctor treats black patients differently or handles black illnesses less urgently than white illnesses, or that white person who has black friends might be married to a white teacher that more harshly disciplines black children for behaviors that they just dismiss when white children exhibit. They don't put two and two together because they think that their black friends are just like them. Just like with us, fellas, the women that we know, well, the women that we know have never been sexually assaulted, sexually harassed. They've never been raped before because, come on, these are the women that I know. And then when we find out that they have been, it's, what do? We do what the white folks do. Well, were you wearing a short skirt? Like, what did you do? Ain't that crazy? Like, we'll experience racism, like by a racist cop. White people sometimes don't put that together either. That the uncle that uses the N-word at Thanksgiving is also a sergeant with the Menominee Falls Police Department, and they don't think that Sergeant Uncle doesn't racially profile black families that live in Menominee Falls because their black friends never bring up the fact that they get pulled over by the police in Menominee Falls all the time. So even when we talk about, and this is why we don't tell y'all nothing, but this is why I am here. This is why we have Black Radio. This, to me, is one of the great communication monuments because we get to tell our stories and then other black folks get to share their stories as well. We can sit back and watch all the white folks get astonished. We already had to block somebody in the chat. A guy named Brian, he couldn't handle it. I wish that we had black leaders that brought people together. That's the worst one. It's either, oh, I'm not racist, I have black friends, or why are you always dividing us? But won't never say nothing to a conservative talk radio host that is completely crapping on the city of Milwaukee, won't say nothing about a Republican politician that is being disrespectful to black people, black children, trying to cut our health care, cut our Medicaid, cut our SNAP benefits. That same white person won't say to that white Republican, why don't you need to be bringing people together, but they always say it to us. This is why this country is in the position that it's in. And here's what's crazy. The working class and middle class white people and poor white people are sometimes the most racist because they think that they are in their position because a black person got a job, because a black person got into the college, because a black person got into management, because a black person got the promotion. So they're even more racist. What they need to understand, but we're not there yet, is that their economic interests are the exact same as ours. But they think because they are white, they are destined to have more opportunities than us because that's what white skin is supposed to get you. Newsflash, in the grand scheme of things, and history will reflect this much better than I ever could, whiteness was just a myth. It was an experiment. It was a myth. It doesn't qualify anybody to be better than. It doesn't. Genetically, it holds no superiority. If anything, it's a little bit slower on the football field. Yeah, it is. It's not. Whiteness don't run a 4.2 40. If it does, it's an anomaly. No, I'm kidding. Everybody relax. But are there white people that run 4.2 40-yard dashes in the NFL? The world may never know. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. Truth Nation, please join us for the 54th annual Juneteenth celebration in Milwaukee on Thursday, June 19th. The Truth will be broadcasting live from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., so don't miss out on your chance to celebrate with us with our live Juneteenth broadcast presented by Hope Christian Schools and Carroll University. 1017 The Truth celebration of Juneteenth is also brought to you by American Family Insurance, Associated Bank, Gruber Law Offices, Molson Coors, and Educators Credit Union.
It's 1017 The Truth's Dr. Ken Harris for Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. When it's time to upgrade your windows and doors, wouldn't you like to work with the best? But maybe you're thinking in these volatile times, I don't want to spend a fortune. Well, Pella, the best in the industry, has a product line for every budget, and right now you can get no interest and no payments for up to 2 years. And if the plan is to wait, guess what? You can get it now and wait to start making payments up to 2 years. Pella truly believes that quality windows and doors don't have to be expensive. With a range of affordable options and products assembled in the U.S., you can get the look you want at a price you can afford. And with Pella's free in-home consultation, no obligation quote, and range of available financing, getting new windows and doors from Pella is easier than you think. Certain restrictions apply. Ends June 30th of 2025. Set your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Two Wisconsin icons are teaming up on a reworked classic. Cousin Subs and U-Zingers are proud to introduce the all-new fried bologna sub, featuring U-Zingers fried bologna, bacon, American cheese, onions, pickles, mayo, and mustard on fresh-baked Italian bread. And that's not all. Pair your fried bologna with a creamy cupcake shake topped with whipped cream and rainbow sprinkles. Now that's a better combination. Order both in-store, online, or via the mobile app. Cousin Subs. We believe in better.
What fills your cup? Those things, big and small, that make each day rewarding. Here's what fills our cup at Educators Credit Union. When you walk in the lobby and see your favorite teller, cultivating financial literacy to build stronger communities. When we help you buy a home when you didn't think it was possible. The best part? Seeing you leave with a smile because we made a difference in your life. It fills our cup to see you succeed because we're more than a financial. We're people helping people. Educators Credit Union. Achieving more together. Insured by NCUA.
Turn up the summer vibes at Chula Vista Resort, your playground for summer dreams, water parks, and sun-soaked pools, epic water slides, soaring zip lines, and world-class golf. Dine in the #1 steakhouse in Wisconsin, Chula Vista Resort. Call 1-800-388-4782 or visit chulavistaresort.com.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I got to give another example because I'm trying to relate conversations on race to as many people as I possibly can. But for some reason, when I talk about the black-white dynamic and when we want to have critical conversations about race, like from an academic perspective, white people are real easy to dismiss that because they ain't got time for an angry black person to explain stuff academically. So this is Pride Month, right? In fact, the Pride Festival starts today at the Summerfest grounds. And someone can come out as gay, or sometimes it's really obvious that a person is gay. And then someone who does not want to understand what it takes and what a gay person has to deal with can say some stuff like, well, just be normal. Don't bring up the fact that you're gay. Like, why do you always gotta? Or it could be a person saying, well, I teach my children to love everybody no matter what. Or it could be someone that says, well, we just don't talk about homosexuality. It's not that big of a deal to us. Why do you guys make it such a big deal? All of that is harmful language, because it's also like the white person that has the relative that uses the N-word, but they dismiss that as just, that's just my crazy relative. Not understanding or appreciating or wanting to deny how much impact their racist relative can have on the lives of many, many black people over the course of days, weeks, months, years, and generations, you see. So when someone tells me that they are gay and they're out and they're proud and they have stories to tell about how they were threatened and how people harmed them and they are looked at as less than human, I feel that. And I'm not going to be like, don't tell me about that. That doesn't matter. You're just a person. Who you sleep with doesn't matter. That dismissive language, and us as black folks, we need to know this. When we dismiss them, then they have the reason and the excuse to dismiss us when we talk about race. I remember what it was like back in the day, and so do some of y'all. If you're heterosexual and cisgender, back in the 80s and in the 90s, we said terrible things about gay people. We blamed them for AIDS, didn't we? We called them the F word routinely. In fact, if you were gay or suspected as being gay, or if you were a feminine boy growing up, when I grew up, your safety wasn't guaranteed. We would beat you up. I'm not even kidding. Damn. So when somebody says now, that they're out and they're gay, I'm like, hey, that takes a lot of courage, because I remember what it was like. And here's what's crazy. White folks will know how poorly black people get treated. They know it and still want to just like, we'll just dismiss that. I know what we had a kid that I went to high school with that he was the first out person. We knew, you know what I mean? We just knew. But for some reason we didn't mess with him. Maybe because he was just bigger than everybody else. He was big and gay. He was very tall. He was like 6'3" in 7th grade. But when he came out our senior year, because we had known him, you know what I mean? We went to school with him. He ran real gay too. Like when we were in gym class, he was like, he floated. He liked the fairy dance, actually, that you guys were doing the other day. Yeah, there it is. We just knew he was gay. So, and we grew up with the dude, A little weird being in the locker room with him, because after gym class, you got to shower. A little weird, but what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? But when he came out our senior year, there were other kids that went to Brown Deer High School at the time that hadn't grown up with him like we did, and they call him the F word, and they mess with him and they push him in the hallway, and we defended him because we knew him. But I knew how hard that must have been for him, because he didn't really have any friends. The only friends that he had were cheerleaders, which actually he had no male friends. So his high school experience wasn't rooted in the companionship of other men because he was gay. And we as heterosexual cisgender boys that prided ourselves on our toxic masculinity, we couldn't be friends with him because as young teenage boys, you're not secure enough in your own masculinity to sit at the lunch table with the gay dude. You know what I mean? You're not. But I have an appreciation for someone that is gay because I know what they must have gone through at the hands of heterosexual cisgender people that back in the day were not politically correct when it came to homosexuality. So it's not fair to say, I don't care if somebody's gay. It doesn't matter who they sleep with. But you have to have an appreciation of how they can be discriminated against and in some cases killed because of their orientation. You got to have an appreciation for that. You don't get to skip over that because you just want them to be normal and regular like everybody else. And so here's what I'll say to the gays. Be as gay as you want. Wear rainbow panties and pretend you're a unicorn and like you're a fairy. Happy Pride Month. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for hour 3.
Tune into the award-winning 1017 The Truth's Black Business Give Back Spotlight this Friday at 3:57 p.m. between The Tori Lowe Show and Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris. I'll be joined by Erica Odom, owner of Odom Investments in Property Management. We will discuss how they are making a difference in the real estate world through property management and by offering competitive prices to buy your home. Again, that is the Black Business Give Back Spotlight with Odom Investments in Property Management this Friday at 3:57 p.m. on the award-winning 1017 The Truth.
Carrie, where's Tori Lowe and Dr. Ken at? I'm trying to knock these commercials out.
How am I supposed to know, Sherwin?
Well, I'm about to do their parts because my impressions are on point anyway. This is Dr. Ken Harris from Truth in the Afternoon, and I want you to download the Truth app in the Google Play Store and Apple Store so you can never miss my show or any of the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Really, Kyle?
Sherwin, you are crazy.
Sherwin, your impression of me is horrible. Move. Give me my mic. I guess I'll just repeat what Sherwin said. Go to the Google Play Store or Apple Store to download the 1017 The Truth app today so you can take the home of Milwaukee Black Talk with you wherever you are.
Can't listen live? Download the new 1017 The Truth app on your smartphone today to catch up on all your favorite shows. Search 1017 The Truth on your Google Play Store or Apple App Store so you don't miss out on any of the action.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us. Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. Feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the new 1017 The Truth, founded in partnership with Associated Bank. Your money works here. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Seem a lifetime away.
Welcome to Hour 3 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I got some Trump stuff. Trump just a new travel ban, and of course they are Middle Eastern and African countries where you are banned from coming from those countries to the United States. I don't think anybody is shocked by that. Also got another Trump story. I don't like this one. We knew that Joe Biden mentally was not in an ideal place. There was some speculation about that, and plus he was real clumsy. Remember, Joe Biden kept falling upstairs, falling downstairs, and we knew the dude was old, and you could just see it in his face. He looked disconnected and despondent sometimes, like Joe Biden would just like walk off. You guys remember late night comedians would make fun of him. We knew that he was not the Joe that he used to be. He would, even his the strength in his oration was beginning to fade. We knew that, but we also knew that he beat Donald Trump once, and we believed with the power of the incumbency that he was best equipped to beat Donald Trump again. So the behind-the-scenes strategy was, this is prior to that bad debate performance that he had, was get him across the finish line, get him reelected so Trump does not get back in the White House, because Trump and Project 2025 Trump and his team made it abundantly clear what he was coming to do. And I'll give Trump credit for this. He is doing exactly, like, they're following that playbook. They're following it. And Kamala tried to warn us, but Kamala, because she was the vice president and the Democratic nominee, she's not credible in warning us about what her opponent is going to do, because we get so used to our political parties like going after each other and throwing mud at each other and lying. So when Kamala Harris is like, yo, Project 2025 is going to screw this country up and take away our democracy, we just chalk that up to, oh, well, she just wants the job. She's going to say anything to get the job. We actually should have believed her, but I think that also goes to the heart of the credibility. Can a part Jamaican, part Indian woman be credible in telling this country what we should and should not pay attention to? I think that's a debate that we still should probably have. We also need to have a deeper discussion about women in politics, because eventually only a woman will be able to get us out of whatever mess we may find ourselves in. And I say that because women, like, they come and they clean it all up for us, you know? They do. When we screw it up so bad, they come and they fix everything. And just like Barack Obama, the country couldn't have been in worse shape. I don't know if people really remember what 2007 and 2008 was like. We were screwed up as a nation. Home foreclosure crisis. Banks were going belly up. Companies were stealing people's pensions. You had Enron, which was one of the biggest scandals in the early 21st century. We had 2 wars going on. We lost both of them, essentially. Both of them were unjustified, in my opinion. We were in real bad shape, but then we brought in the black dude because we're thinking, like, how much worse could it get? He wasn't even offering a platform. He was just offering hope and change, and we were at such a low point as a nation. Now, the low point that we were at then is a different low point than we're at right now. We were at a low point politically. Now we're at a low point socially. So the equivalent to, follow me here, I'm going to zigzag a little bit, but y'all are smart people. The equivalent of having 2 wars, thousands of American casualties, a home foreclosure crisis, a banking crisis, an economic recession where we're losing probably 1 million jobs a month. Our automakers were about to go belly up. GM filed for bankruptcy. So think about all of that stuff happening at the exact same time. With the home foreclosure crisis really hurting some communities. Like, people lost their homes completely, got evicted from their houses, became homeless overnight. Plus the wars, plus you couldn't get a job. So all of that, package all of that up, that to me is the equivalent as where we are right now with the immigration policy, where we're literally rounding people up off the streets. There's a woman for MPS. You guys hear about this lady here locally? She was a paraprofessional, been here for like 10 years, had 2 daughters. The Trump administration gave her like 2 weeks to get on a plane and go to El Salvador to get out of the country. They showed like all these kids and teachers just crying. She became a part of the MPS community, and the Trump administration gave her 2 weeks to go back to a country her kids had never even been to before. So think about where we were in 2007, 2008 when Barack Obama got elected. The deep, deep doldrums of the economic recession and the home foreclosure crisis. We are just in just as bad a shape right now, but racially and socially. And I think after Trump, and I don't even know what after looks like, J.D. Vance has mortgaged his opportunity to be president of the United States. There's a way in which he may or may not be the Republican nominee. We just don't know what the hell Trump is going to do. Because in this first 130 days, Donald Trump has done stuff that I didn't conceivably think was possible. I am not only a student of this nation, of this democracy, of the U.S. Constitution. I worked for a member of Congress. I've worked for state legislators. I've been an appointee of the governor, and I've worked for a mayor. I've seen government work at every possible level, and I've campaigned, worked on campaigns, volunteered on campaigns at every conceivable level of government. And what I am seeing right now, I did not even think was conceivable in the deepest, darkest, most depraved American minds. And I hope you all understand that statement I just said the way that I understand it in my head. What we are seeing right now is a complete dereliction of duty. Basically, the 300 plus members of Congress that are Republicans have given all of their power to one man. All of it. All of it. Donald Trump is telling Republicans who have poor, white, rural districts with one Medicare facility in the county that they're going to close those Medicare facilities. There is, Elise Stefanik, the Trumper, I think she was nominated for something and had to rescind her nomination. Elise Stefanik, who's the woman member of Congress for New York. When they close, so Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is going to have such a dramatic cut to Medicare and Medicaid funding that check this out now. The people in Elise Stefanik's district, and she's in the House of Representatives. She voted for Donald Trump's bill, which will cut Medicaid funding by damn near $1 trillion over the next 10 years, which means that clinics, hospitals, etc., that service people that are on Medicaid will be closing. In Elise Stefanik's district, which is in New York, there will be one clinic for 7 counties. Some people will have to drive to the damn state of Connecticut to go see a doctor because they're going to close the upstate clinics that service elderly people. Some of them don't even drive. It services these elderly people that are on Medicare. And she voted for that legislation that's going to require her elderly constituents to have to drive to another state to see a doctor. What's going to happen is her elderly constituents are simply going to die because Elise Stefanik, if her and 2 other Republicans nationwide would have voted against just that proposal, we don't want elderly people to have to drive either 7 counties away or have to drive to another state because they have pneumonia. If just 2 other Republicans would have said, that's a bridge too far for me, the bill wouldn't have passed out of the House, but it did. So when I say I have never in my life seen anything like this, I mean it. We might even be in a worse position right now than we were when Barack Obama was elected in 2008. That being said, whoever the next woman president is, I don't even really care as long as they can win. My standard has gotten so low for the Democrats now. I do like Hakeem Jeffries, but he can't do a lot. Do you guys remember Joe Biden's press secretary? I used to love talking to her. I interviewed her a bunch of times. Her name is Karine Jean-Pierre, black woman. Not Donald Trump, Joe Biden's press secretary. I did at least 2, if not 3 interviews with her because she would call in and tell us about the Joe Biden agenda because she was Joe Biden's press secretary. She also was a surrogate for Joe Biden when we thought he was going to be running for re-election. Loved talking to her. And she and I would, before the official interview started, she and I would chop it up. She's just a real cool person. Well, apparently, she's leaving the Democratic Party. She's not mincing words about how angry and how upset she is with the Democratic Party. She's also writing a tell-all book because apparently she is upset for having to cover up for Joe Biden. Because as a press secretary, you lie to the American people. Now, you don't lie all the time, hopefully, but there are certain things that you cannot tell the American people because we can't handle it. Just like Sandra couldn't handle our very sophisticated cerebral conversation on race in the YouTube chat, sometimes the American people can't handle what's actually going on with our country, with national security and our government, so you got to lie a little bit. That's what press secretaries do. They try and paint the rosiest picture possible because the worst thing that can happen is if Americans know the truth and we start panicking because we'll start killing one another. So you can't let Americans panic because we freak out to levels that are unseen. We have too many guns in this country to have us panicking, right? So press secretaries lie. But what I don't like about Karine Jean-Pierre is she's breaking the code here. When you work for the most powerful person on the face of the earth and for a period of time, Joe Biden was. I would even say when he was vice president and even his many, many decades in the U.S. Senate, Joe Biden has been a power broker since the 1970s, the early 1970s. You don't forsake the privilege that you had to work in the White House, for the President of the United States by saying you hate the Democratic Party, you're leaving the Democratic Party, you are now going to register as an independent, and you're writing a book that is like a whistleblower book, like blowing up the Joe Biden White House. You don't do that. You quietly leave, you exit stage left, and you just decide like, hey, I'm not going to vote for Democrats anymore. But to write a tell-all book, like that speaks of a kind of sabotage that benefits nobody. And look, I've worked for elected officials before that I fundamentally disagreed with some of their political stances. Now, I also work for elected officials where I could tell them that. I don't know if you guys heard my interview with Tom Barrett. It was less of you tuned into that than I thought. I thought that would have been an interesting one for people to tune into, but y'all did not want to hear a damn thing from Tom Barrett, which is crazy. But when I worked for him, when he was a member of Congress, because one of your duties was just to drive the congressman to stuff. Because he'd have like 10 events in a day. He'd have to go to this school and talk to these students. He'd have to go over here for a ribbon cutting. Then he'd have a meeting with some, professional board. And he'd have to go here and meet with a bunch of business leaders and a bunch of stakeholders. And then they used to be really long days when he was in the district, when he was in Milwaukee. But Tom would always ask us what he should do when it came to certain decisions. I worked for him when the Bush administration was trying to get public support to invade Iraq. Remember that? Because they wanted to go get Saddam Hussein. Didn't have nothing to do with September 11th, but the Bush administration and Dick Cheney was like, we got to go after Saddam Hussein because something. Him and Osama bin Laden were in cahoots with September 11th. Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein hated each other. They had nothing. They were not involved with September 11th together. And so I remember picking Tom up from the airport. Never forget this. Coming in from D.C., we had a bunch of stuff to do in the district. And he said, Sherwin, this vote is coming up. Because at the time, we thought that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. And I don't know if you guys can remember, at that time, we were real scared. This is in 2002. So September 11th this was January of 2002. So September 11th was 4 months prior to. The Twin Towers were still in rubble. It was still smoking, actually. And I remember Tom asking me, said, Sherwin, what should I do? Should I vote to go to war to invade Iraq because of these weapons of mass destruction, and we got to take out Iraq because if they use their weapons of mass destruction and we have another September 11th, that may start World War III. And I remember telling him, don't do it. Do not vote to engage this country in another war. So I had the luxury of working for an elected official that not only valued their staff's input, they genuinely considered it. Now, here's the other thing, which made it easy for him to vote no on the war in Iraq, which he ultimately did. Our phone wouldn't stop ringing. Back then, almost 25 years ago, people would call their congressperson's office. They would call us. A few people email. People weren't really emailing like that, but the majority of the correspondence that we got, where we got phone calls and people actually wrote us letters. Isn't that wild? Newsflash, and I hate to disappoint you. If you ever wrote your congressperson a letter, you got a response. Even to this day, if you write a Gwen Moore letter, if you write Tammy Baldwin a letter, I don't know what the hell gonna happen if you write Ron Johnson a letter. You will get a letter in return. They'll respond to you with a letter. But here's the thing. The member of Congress didn't write it. Sorry. I wrote a bunch of letters to y'all. What do you want to do? Well, here's the thing, though. So we, the staff, we would respond, because Tom Barrett couldn't respond to 900 handwritten letters. So here's what would happen. He would be in the district, because I worked in the Germania building on 2nd and Wells, right down the street. When he was in the district, when he wasn't in D.C. voting, we would give him the stack of letters that we wrote in response to you all writing him. And he would skim them, and then he would actually sign them, though. So that is one thing he did. So he did kind of read them, but he didn't write them. He wrote a couple. Let me be clear. He did write a few, but we wrote the vast majority of, and y'all couldn't even tell. So just relax. Everybody calm down. Donald Trump orders investigation of Joe Biden's actions and his auto pen use, citing the former president's cognitive decline. Of all the things that Donald Trump could do, should do, and be focused on, he is investigating Joe Biden. Leave Joe Biden alone. Joe Biden ain't hurt nobody. Donald Trump signed 200-some executive orders to make the entire Biden political agenda totally disappear. But to use federal government resources to investigate Joe Biden, I think that Joe Biden probably has Alzheimer's. I think he has late onset Alzheimer's. He probably isn't doing very well. God bless him. I don't know if he made any public appearances recently, but leave that man alone. Joe Biden served his country, whether you like it or not. I think he did so honorably, and I appreciate Joe Biden for the service that he gave to this country with 4 years as president. He tried to forgive some of y'all student loans, and he served as a great mentor to Barack Obama. And how do I know that? Because Barack Obama gave Joe Biden the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which was a signal to us that Joe Biden was a good one that Barack Obama invited to the barbecue. See, a lot of folks didn't understand it at the time. The equivalent of inviting Joe Biden to the barbecue is Barack Obama's blessing of him, because Obama got to know Joe Biden better than anybody else. And I think the wise counsel and all of the years that Joe Biden was working in Washington and working in the Senate, he gave Barack Obama some real good, sound advice, especially in how to work with and maneuver and navigate some of those old racist Republicans that were still old stalwarts from Jim Crow that were in the Senate. And when Barack Obama, his last official act as president, he gave that Presidential Medal of Freedom to Joe Biden. Y'all remember that? Joe Biden started crying because Joe Biden was like, oh my God, I'm getting invited to the barbecue. Now, it took 8 whole years for Joe Biden to prove himself to Barack Obama, but Obama's last official act as president was he anointed Joe Biden as his successor. I think that scared a lot of people, because when in American history have you ever seen a black man anointing a white one as his successor? Now, here's the thing, though. Beau Biden died of the cancers. Very sad. And Joe Biden, who loved his kids so very much, because, you know, he lost his wife and another child in a car accident. When his son, Beau, died of cancer, Joe Biden was in no shape to run a grueling 50-state political campaign against Donald Trump. He didn't have it. And then you know what happened with Hunter? Hunter got all up on the dope. Hunter was doing cocaine, smoking crack with prostitutes. You know what I mean? That's tough. You got smoking crack with prostitutes, had guns and stuff, and then Hunter Biden's laptop. Part of the memo calls on the counsel to the president, in consultation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi and other agency heads, to probe whether, quote, certain individuals conspire to deceive the public about Biden's mental state and unconstitutionally exercise the authorities and responsibilities of the president. Of course they did, but leave him alone. All these rules and laws that Trump is breaking, they want to go back and say, oh, well, Joe Biden didn't have a good mental state and all the things he did as president don't count. First of all, he dropped out of the damn race. Have respect for that. Leave him alone. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Here at the new 101.7 The Truth, we aim to be a staple in Milwaukee's Black community. We are committed to partnering with local organizations and supporting Black-owned businesses. We are proud to call Milwaukee our city and promise to be a positive reflection of our community. We look forward to celebrating Black culture and excellence with you every day as we make history and continue to uplift the voices in our city. Join us for the journey at the new 101.7 The Truth, founded by Gruber Law Offices. Milwaukee Black Talk.
This is Sherwin Hughes from 101.7 The Truth for Axe Housing. Are you tired of paying a landlord rent when you should be paying yourself? Do you want to leave a financial legacy, or would you like to have a stable place to call home? Well, it's time for you to start on the path to owning your own home instead of renting. You can work with an Axe Housing coach, and they will teach you how home ownership can be a reality. Axe Housing has helped over 4,000 families in our neighborhoods. Many times your mortgage will be a lot less than what you're paying for rent. As an average Axe family who has been helped pays around $900 per month. No matter what barriers you think you're facing, Axe Housing Coaches can assist you right now. An Axe Housing Coach will help you create and stick to a plan and a budget and get you ready for home ownership. If you're not dreaming of home ownership by now, you certainly should be. Let's make it a reality with Axe Housing. Get started on a virtual orientation by clicking on axhousing.org. That is ACTS housing.org. Don't let where you are financially right now get in the way of your very bright future of becoming a homeowner. Axe Coaches are here to help.
What fills your cup? Those things, big and small, that make each day rewarding. Here's what fills our cup at Educators Credit Union. When you walk in the lobby and see your favorite teller, cultivating financial literacy to build stronger communities. When we help you buy a home when you didn't think it was possible. The best part? Seeing you leave with a smile because we made a difference in your life. It fills our cup to see you succeed because we're more than a financial. We're people helping people. Educators Credit Union. Achieving more together. Insured by NCUA.
Hi, Drew and Jonathan Scott here, reminding you that a lot of life's firsts are better with help from American Family Insurance. Like your first home expansion or your first big lightning strike. There's a first for everything. Get the right home policy at the right price with the right help from American Family's agents. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
At Hazelden Betty Ford, treating mental health isn't just about breaking old patterns. It's about braving new ones. As the leader in alcohol and drug treatment for 75 years, we know caring for addiction, anxiety, depression, and trauma goes hand in hand. We're here for you with new tools when life breaks down. Discover your path to better mental health at hazeldenbettyford.org/Wisconsin. Sponsored by Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I wish that I could walk and chew gum at the same time, that I could carry on the conversation and bring up the stories and the issues during the radio show, and also keep up with the real-time chatting on YouTube, because y'all into some real deep conversations here. The Coatrells, am I saying that right? The Coatrells? You got some stuff going on that seems to be kind of interesting, but I can't just jump in because I don't know where the conversation started. There's something about, I want to just jump in on one comment that somebody made about, they're talking about education, it looks like, and, you know, the parents talk to the children a certain way, and we know that. And so when we say parents, let's be clear, in a lot of these cases where the children are the most poorly behaved, it's just the mother. Can we somewhat agree on that gross generalization that it's just the mom sometimes that's raising some of these really unruly kids? And you guys have witnessed this. And I want you to just think about this without any bias. Just think of a situation where you've seen a mother cussing her children out. And they could be young children, like really being really mean to her kids. And sometimes you see it in public. Now, I'm not asking you to comment on that. I'm not asking you to give your opinion on it, but just recall a situation where you saw a mother just really talk to their children poorly, or like hit their children in public. And let's imagine if it's a frustrated mother and she's mad at her son and she's cussing her son out and she's talking to her 5, 6, 7-year-old son like he's a grown man, right? Saying really terrible things. Have you guys ever seen anything like that or witnessed anything like that? Now, I'm not asking you to give an opinion on it, say if it's right or wrong, but have you ever seen a mom really get like super, super angry? And maybe she's frustrated and she just talks to that child in a way that most of us would agree is wholly inappropriate, okay? And so that's the verbal part. And then there's some situations where you've witnessed a mom beat their child, whoop their child, or spank their child, or swat at their child in public. All right? And this is what you're witnessing. You're seeing this in public. You don't know that woman. You don't know that child, but you see this woman just yelling and screaming and using very profane words at her child, and maybe she hits her child as well. And it makes you cringe a little bit when you see it, you know? This is a conversation that we are not ready to have, just like a White House press secretary can't be entirely honest with the American people, because folks will panic and freak out if a White House press secretary is actually honest with the American people, because the truth sometimes is evil, it's ugly, and it's bitter. So imagine that mom now talks to her child terribly. And let's say it's a boy, her son she's talking to, is 7 years old. And who knows what he did? I don't know. He didn't shut up when he was supposed to. I don't know. Went in her purse and stole a piece of bubble gum. I don't know what he did. But he's being talked to and being treated and being disciplined in a way that we all know as adults is horrible. Like child abuse kind of stuff, right? But we don't say anything because, you know, that's her child and she can do whatever she wants with her child. Plus, you know that if we say something to that woman, we gonna get it too. And sometimes you be out in public, you don't want no beef with nobody, right? But I'm sure some of you are familiar with that scenario. And this is what you were witnessing randomly in public. Let's assume that that child gets talked to that way all the time at home, right? That's where misogyny comes from. Women will now use misogyny really loosely, like we use gaslighting loosely, like we use narcissism loosely, like we use toxic loosely, like we use trauma loosely. Like the internet has taken these terms and they have exploded them to anything that we see that looks remotely close to what we saw explained on an Instagram reel. Oh, we label that as, oh, that's gaslighting. Oh, that's toxic. Or that person has PTSD. And I think we overuse a lot of these terms because those are terms that are reserved for people that are actually PhDs in psychiatry. But, you know, everybody is a professional intellectual nowadays because of the internet. You cannot talk about how a human being acts and behaves, including a man who we believe is a misogynist. If a man hates women, he's a misogynist. He acts in a particular way, right? He acts that way. You have to go back to his childhood. Just like most adult behaviors started from childhood. You cannot have a conversation about a man that is a misogynist and not look at him being raised by the woman that he ultimately started to hate. But we don't want to put that on moms because it's not fair, and moms go through a lot, and moms are under a whole bunch of stress. But if we want to have a real, objective conversation about misogyny, we have to look at the childhood experiences of that boy that was emotionally neglected, physically abused, and verbally abused by his mama for the first 20 years of his life. He is going to go out into the world and hate women. Not all the time, though. This is not a one-to-one correlation, but a lot of times the roots in misogyny begins with maternal child abuse. Let me give you another example to make it fair. There are some women out there in the world that simply cannot be friends with women. They don't like women. They can't get along with women. They get along with men much easier. And I'm not judging these women. I know tons of women like this, women that have just a bunch of dude friends. They don't and cannot relate to women, don't want to be around women, and don't trust women because they, too, in some cases, were victims of maternal abuse. They have been hurt by women, namely the first woman that they should have trusted, which is their mother, and they just do away with women for the rest of their lives. Like that. And I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong, but it is an explanation, but we are not equipped to deal with that yet. Let's talk to Alan. You're on 101.7 The Truth.
Hey, good morning, Sherwin. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm listening to your conversation, and it's extremely interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't, I've known that. I mean, when I came up, there was no doubt, and I got smacked with rolling pins. I got smacked with a cutting board. My mother, the one time she really got into me, do you remember Red Dot Keds? They were a tennis shoe that was real popular back in the 60s, and I wanted a pair. So we went to the shoe store, and Mama told me to try the shoes on. Well, I put the shoes, just a wee one, and I put the shoes on. I took off running. I ran out of the store because I wanted to see if I'd run faster because I had on the red dot Keds. But when I got back to the store, I got tuned up, and I didn't even like the shoes, but guess what? I had to have them shoes, and I had to wear them until they basically fell apart. Now, the other thing is, I don't know that mother either. It's like people, when I would be out with my kids, my son liked to grab things, right? He was a thief. And he was even older, and I just picked him up and put him in a cart because I didn't want to deal with the thievery. And, long after, I called the Walgreens one time. He had snuck out of school with some boys. And I said, why don't you guys charge him? Don't call me. I want him to face some consequences. And they never did it, for whatever reason. And that's why he's probably where he is now.
Where is he now?
I told him, he's in prison. I told you that. I mean, I've told you that for he's been locked up for a while. He did armed robberies up here.
Alan, to be fair, you tell us a lot. It's hard to remember what individual people have told me. Well, there's a lot of people over the years have told me a lot. I've heard a lot from a lot of people. So, all right.
Mm-hmm. No, but my son's in prison. I mean, I don't really communicate. I do. I make sure that he's safe. You know what I'm saying? I got some people to look out, but it's hard for that because he's black and they're white. But I know a couple black cats too who they don't do too much, but they keep eyes on for me.
Wait, hold on. You have a black son? Is this Ty's son? This is your stepson?
It's our son. We adopted our kids. He's mine. I adopted them when they were little. We adopted them.
How old is he?
In his 20s.
Okay. All right. Oh, all right.
He's not a baby. But the thing with the thing with Biden, let's be real clear here. There's a big difference because he was cognitively. First of all, you're giving him all these lauding and praising. The guy was a piece of blank, man. He was a rank racist. Sherwin, you know about Byrd, right? That's common knowledge. The eulogy to the Grand Dragon.
This is where I got to cut you off. If you think that for a second I'm going to compare Joe Biden's racism to Donald Trump's, because if Joe Biden was that much of a racist, and every white person's got some racism in him, he would have declined the offer to serve as Barack Obama's vice president.
No, he wouldn't.
I think we're going to have to leave it. This is why his son in prison. What's happening? All right, I got to take a break. All right, I'm over for a break. Aren't I, Rick? I'm 4 minutes late. Or do I go to 42? Break now, right? Or you don't know what's happening either, do you? I gotta take a break. Okay, I'll take a break. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Ready to buy your first house, move into your forever home, or simply refinance? At Associated Bank, they've got you. With the right lending plan and guidance, you can achieve your dreams. Your financial goals are closer than you think, and Associated Bank is excited to help you reach them. Learn more at associatedbank.com/lending or ask a banker for details. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Saving energy and money is easier than you think. Here are 2 simple things you can do to reduce your energy use and lower your energy bill. Use thermal curtains to reduce each room's energy loss by up to 25%, and make sure vents aren't blocked by furniture or rugs to improve airflow and comfort. Simple, smart savings. Get more energy-saving tips at weenergies.com.
It's time for Truth Takes, a thought-provoking commentary on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Here is Tory Lowe with his truth.
As I reflect on my journey, I'm reminded of God's blessings and guidance. I've been fortunate enough to accomplish some remarkable feats, including walking 750 miles from Milwaukee to Washington, D.C. in honor of the Civil Rights Movement. I also walked against violence from Milwaukee to Chicago and back for 7 consecutive years. My feet are still recovering, but my spirit remains strong. I've been privileged to advocate for victims of police brutality search for missing persons, and participate in numerous of protests. Last year, I was honored to visit the White House with my colleagues from 1017 The Truth to discuss pressing issues in the Black community with the Biden administration. Throughout my broadcasting career, I've received several first-place Wisconsin Broadcast Association awards for The Tory Lowe Show. I've also had the opportunity to be part of ESPN 94.5's Packer pregame show at Lambeau Field. As I look back, I am grateful for the incredible journey. Salute to my brothers and sisters on the front lines. And thank you for your tireless efforts and dedication. We're in this together, and I could not have done anything without the love and support of my community. I want to remind you to keep pushing forward, stay vigilant, keep your head on a swivel, green don't always mean go, and look both ways before you cross the street. And always look out for one another. In 2025, we still got a lot of work to do. God bless you, and I love you.
This has been Truth Takes on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Listen to The Tory Lowe Show weekdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
(833) 212-1017, 833-212-1017 is our phone number. Let's talk to Al. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. First thing I want to say is a lot of these challengers and charges that's on the streets, those are the 392s. You got a couple of V6s up in there, but I highly doubt you got the jailbreaks and the demons, because the jailbreaks and the demons going to run over six figures, not unless they're doing some heavy boosting and some heavy scamming.
You don't see a lot of those in the hood, though, Al. We're talking about 2011, 2012 Dodge Chargers.
Yeah, don't forget to throw the old school Dodge RTs up in there too, because a lot of them was using their baby mama's checks, because she had a lot of children, like 3-4 children, when they got them $11,000 back, and everybody said they didn't need nobody for no money. You know what I was going to say when you talked about racism? I think racism and reparations should go hand in hand. I think they should make all them sapsuckers pay, from the businesses who profited off of racism. That's worth billions of dollars today. Let's not forget about you good old Jews, because y'all had one of the biggest slave trading companies in Virginia. See, y'all thought everybody forgot about that, because y'all very silent too, and y'all was running a whole lot of slave ships across the Atlantic like Buick Deuce and the Quarters, Alexa 225, and y'all still ain't no good. So y'all should be made to pay too, because y'all got grants and y'all are minorities as well, and that ain't anti-Semitism. That's anti-being the truth. So they need to cut checks too. You got it out the mud, you can pay out the mud as well. And then also going to America First. And they said that Biden was racist. So what do you think about all these Republicans? Because a lot of y'all are very racist, and just because you're with a black woman don't make you good. There's a whole lot of racists that mess with black women. I don't ever hear y'all talk about it. Y'all don't talk about the rape. Y'all don't talk about all that devil dust that keeps popping up. Y'all don't talk about y'all so good Christian morals, because everything y'all say in Christianity, you the exact opposite. And I think they should be made to pay too. But what I want to say to the good white people, if your integrity and your character is at an all-time high, you will never be offended, because you know that shoe don't fit, so you don't have to wear it. But it's you quiet ones who sit there and don't say nothing. See, a lot of you low-key ones who in the black community, a lot of y'all down with that. See, y'all just don't want to speak against it. That's why some of y'all get offended. See, if you get offended, that's because you feel there's some truth to it. But if you are actually a good person, you wouldn't be offended. You're like, well, I agree. Because some of you whites talk about some of you whites worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. And some of you whites ain't not a fan of Christianity neither. And some of you whites talk about your kids and your parents and your grandparents like they're trash as well. So why is y'all sitting here trying to act like y'all so good? Because I'm gonna tell you something like this, Mr. Hughes. Doves don't swim with crows or fly with crows. But y'all try to act like y'all so self-righteous. But before I go, stop doing that devil dust. Because every time y'all put y'all head down and your teeth is like this, and you putting that trigger finger in the back of your mouth like you got Novocaine, that ain't no Novocaine. That's that damn devil dust. I've been peeping y'all and watching y'all out. Y'all showing up all over media. Stop doing that Delta dust. No, not Delta dust. That's for killing bees. The devil's dust. Stop doing the devil's dust. Maybe that's the real reason why God was mad with the devil. Because he didn't hang around no women. And he was sitting at the table with 12 disciples. So what's really going on? Devil dust.
Hold on real quick.
Have a great day.
Hold on real quick. A definition. What's devil dust? What is that?
Devil dust?
Yeah.
Devil dust is cocaine.
Oh.
And a lot of Republicans love doing that. They love doing cocaine. Don't forget them mushrooms, them perks, them Xanax. Sometimes they used to take them X pills and stick it up the devil's back door.
Really?
They all know about. Yes.
In the devil's back door, and you can put the X pill up there.
Yeah, a lot of people used to do that.
Oh, I didn't
Devil's
know that.
dust.
Okay.
Devil's dust. Devil's dust.
Oh, all right.
And if you're going to invest, devil's dust. And see if they got any pharmaceutical heroin. And another thing, some of these gas stations be selling, I don't know what is it called, is that lactose stuff? You spray it on your heroin before you get high? Because some of these gas stations sell it too. If y'all find out who make that, invest in that too. Devil's dust. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Devil's dust. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Devil's dust. Bye-bye.
Okay. Rick, was that you that recorded him that kept playing Devil's Dust, or was he actually saying it that many times?
That was all Al. That was me.
Okay. Well, looks like we got us a new hotkey. I think he does it on purpose. That's a perfect hotkey. He said it. He said it perfectly. You hear him? Devil's Dust.
I heard him.
Devil's Dust. Devil's Dust. Up the back door. Devil's Dust. I have
got drugs in my booty.
You know, I heard a new nickname for a strip club yesterday. I was watching this YouTube video.
Oh, God.
It's so funny, Rick.
What is it?
You ever hear something funny and you just keep rewinding it over and over and you laugh harder and harder and harder? Like, I laughed so hard, I laughed until I had no more laughs left.
What's the name of the what did you hear? What's the joke?
He called it, this is a name for a strip club, he called it a booty carnival.
It's funny to me because I know it's funny to you.
Think about it. That's what it is. You got lights and you got music. He's like, oh, I went to the booty carnival.
I know some grown folks that call it Disneyland.
For adults, I suppose. I have this clip of Ron Johnson. I want to see if I can play it. Let me see if I.
For another question.
Hang on.
Last question.
By the way, I've never met a poor person that created jobs.
Is that offensive to you? That a U.S. senator, our U.S. senator here, said he's never met a poor person that created jobs. It's like a poor person can't decide that they want to start a business and be an entrepreneur and then hire other people. A poor person can't decide that they've had enough of being poor and they want to take their skills and their talents and actually create a job. Can you believe? Why is that just offensive to me? Is anybody else offended by that? Here, let me see if I can.
I don't know how to feel about that.
He said he's never seen a poor person create a job. Hold on, I got to see if I can play it again. But the format of the video that I have makes it kind of hard to play. Hang on.
I guess it depends on what context you use it in.
Last question.
By the way, I've never met a poor person that created jobs.
What does he say?
Keep denying reality that it's people that have wealth that put the capital to work. You might feel good. Yeah, we're really getting those rich guys. It's those rich guys that invest, risk their capital, build the business, create the types of jobs and opportunity. You can deny that fact, but again, now you're really denying reality.
Well, I'd like to say I disagree with that, but I'll allow time for another question.
He's a jerk. That's horrible. All right, I got to take a break now. It's the last break of the show now. Hey, guys, share this on your social media, this show. There's a link I put in the YouTube chat, or just go to youtube.com or open up a YouTube device. Share our shows with your social media so we can get more people to participate in the conversations. So there's a way in which I can go back and read the comments of a show after the show is over, because you guys were talking about some great stuff. So I'm going to try and extract some of the more poignant comments and conversations that you guys were making in the YouTube, and maybe we can address some of those on tomorrow's show. Okay, I'm going to take a break. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. Will be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Truth Nation, unfortunately, violence is on the rise in Milwaukee, and this is a problem which impacts us all. Please join me and the Truth team on Saturday, July 12th from 9 a.m. to noon for our third annual Walk Against Violence, supported by 1MKE. Enough is enough. Now it's time to bring an end to senseless violence in our community. To join our Walk Against Violence on Saturday, July 12th, visit truthwalkagainstviolence.com to sign up today.
I've got to share that I am also a beneficiary of the Old National Bank Empowerment Loan Program. So, Tracy, with that being said, what is the Empowerment Loan Program?
Great. Well, the Empowerment Loan Program is a special purpose loan program that we launched 2 years ago. It has been a success. It was something near and dear to the heart of not only our chairman and CEO, but just our organization as a whole. We work with contractors, consulting firms, retail food operations, daycares. In fact, so far, we've approved $50 million of loans to minority and women-owned businesses within a 2-year period.
And for those that are now leaning more into this conversation, what's the best way to get in contact with you as part of their interest in the Empowerment Loan Program?
I'm going to give you my cell phone number to the listeners. It's 414-687-7393. And if that doesn't work, feel free to reach me at my email, tracy.meeks@oldnational.com.
Tracy Meeks, Senior Vice President, Community Lending Market Executive from Old National Bank.
Hi, Drew and Jonathan Scott here, reminding you that a lot of life's firsts are better with help from American Family Insurance. Like your first home expansion or your first big lightning strike. There's a first for everything. Get the right home policy at the right price with the right help from American Family's agents. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
What's poppin', Truth Nation? It's your girl Noni Juice for my friends at Steinhoffels. And nothing beats a great night's sleep on a beauty rest from Steinhoffels. Right now, you'll get a free foundation when you buy a Beauty Rest Black or World Class mattress. Queen mattresses start at just $30 per month when you use Steinhoffels' 60-month financing. And with Steinhoffels' 110% price guarantee, 120-night sleep guarantee, and free delivery, you can't make a mistake. Don't overpay for a good night's sleep. Shop in-store or online at steinhoffels.com. It's your girl Noni Juice for Sweet Talks. Self-love isn't selfish. Feeling confident improves all aspects of your character. And no one understands that quite like Sweet Talks in Menominee Falls. Step into their judgment-free zone, where a staff of registered nurse injectors leads the way. Recommending Botox, Dysport, or Daxify, Sweet Talks goes beyond injectables, though. They offer facials, lasers, medical weight loss, hormone therapy, and more. See why you'll want to join thousands of loyal patients at sweettalks.com.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Guys that invest, risk their capital, build the business, create the types of jobs and opportunity. You can deny that fact, but again, now you're really denying reality.
Well, I'd like to say I disagree with that, but I'll allow time for another question.
Okay.
Last question.
By the way, I've never met a poor person that created jobs.
Unbelievable, this guy. How did he get elected? He beat Mandela Barnes. There's something about that. That bothers me. And Ron Johnson has said a bunch of stuff that I fundamentally disagree with. He laughed when one of my colleagues asked him about reparations, like literally laughed in their face. That's not cool. Al brought up reparations a second ago. It's a topic that it's going to come up on Black Talk Radio, even if you don't want it to. There's a way we can get it. It's just you can't get Americans to pay for it. Because what we still fail to see as black people, if we make a stride or progress racially, something that we all agree would be racial progress. Barack Obama, I know some of y'all didn't like him, but it was racial progress. There's even some Republicans that are like, wow, this is a huge moment for the country. Now, we're going to oppose every damn thing he does, but wow, this is a really big moment for the country. We're not prepared for the backlash. So whenever we make a positive stride racially, white America retaliates. I would say the women were making monumental gains too, and then boom, Roe versus Wade gets overturned. That's the part we're not prepared for. So if we got reparations, and the only way that we can get it is, I said that we can get the Saudis to pay for it, but the United States would have to sign a deal to where we would only buy our oil and our petroleum from the Saudis, and they could just pay off African Americans, because then America wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. But also, if we get reparations, whatever money is owed to us, we would blow it. We don't know anything about money. I see our spending habits every single day. And if you think that racism would go away just because you have money, racism will become more severe, because poor white folks at that point would have nothing to lose. We would just get robbed by a bunch of poor white people, actually. If you knew that every black person in America was a millionaire, they just rob us. And America would have a response. There's always a backlash. There's never racial progress without a major, major, major price to pay. I can start, and I should start in 1945 when American GIs, really 1946, when American GIs, black GIs that just valiantly fought and won World War II and stopped tyranny on the other side of the globe, and they came back and were not treated as heroes. In fact, black men, they would come back with their uniforms on. They weren't celebrated. They weren't congratulated. They were relegated to the back of the bus. And then in the case, I think Isaiah Woodward, I should know his name. He came back. I think he was going to South Carolina. You guys know about this fella? One of the worst stories of the Jim Crow South. Comes back from World War II, had his full uniform on. He was a decorated soldier. And he was getting on the bus because he had flown back to the United States, and he was on his way back to his hometown. And he sat down in the front of the bus. This is way before Rosa Parks. It's 10 years before Rosa. And he didn't move because he thought that he didn't have to move, because he just came home from World War II, and he was a member of the Army. He had his patches and stuff. He had all his regalia on. He was a decorated soldier. Isaac Woodard. I know JD, you'll look it up. His last name is Woodward or Woodard. I think it's Woodward. Isaac or Isaiah Woodward. So the bus driver, because this is before public transportation was integrated in the South. So the bus driver calls the police, calls the sheriff, because this black man wearing his uniform just came home from World War II, where all the white soldiers were treated like heroes. There's even there's a statue and that very famous picture in Times Square where that soldier or that sailor just grabs a random white woman and kisses her and dips her. That's sexual assault, actually. He just grabbed the white lady and kissed her. And it's famous. You guys know what I'm talking about? The sailor that just grabs a random white woman. There's people in Times Square because the war is over. And on the front page of the paper said, "We killed the Japs." Very racist back then. So Isaac sits down on the bus because he doesn't want to sit in the back of the bus on his way home because he's a soldier. Well, the police were called, and the sheriffs, they gouged his eyes out. And he lived the rest of his life blind. They gouged his eyes out while he was wearing his Army uniform. And so then let's begin the civil rights movement, because that was one of those. That and Emmett Till were a couple of the atrocities. There's a whole bunch more that really started the civil rights movement. And then things started happening. The bus boycott worked. There was civil rights legislation. There was voting rights. There was fair housing. Monumental progress was made in that 20 years, I'd say from 1946 until 1966, 1967, 1968. And what was the price that we paid for all of that monumental progress? Those were like, the progress was like stratospheric that we made. They killed Dr. King. So yes, we will make progress. Sure, maybe we get reparations, but we are never prepared for the backlash that will ensue. We got Barack Obama, and that was monumental in racial progress. But then after that, we got Donald Trump twice. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.
This is 1017 The Truth's Kyle Wallace, and I am Milwaukee. I take great pride in being a 414 boy and representing the city that I love. The great memories I have of going to Northtown Cinema to